Hello, hello. Hi from me, hi from Abby. How's everyone doing? Welcome in. Today's the day that we start a new game, but before we get to that, and this is why I started a little bit early, there are a couple other things I wanted to do. Spiritman, hey, long time no see. Happy 6 years. Not quite Botland 2, no. Yeah, welcome in everyone. So there's the normal Monday stuff I want to get to. There's some of this stuff I want to do. So yeah, we'll probably start the new game in, I don't know, 15, 30 minutes, something like that. Hey, Vibe Puff. Thank you for the resub. Happy just over 2 years. Yeah, so hi everyone. Let's go kick off the Tenant stuff. So last time we looked at this was like right after launch. And I said a bunch of things had not gone well, but I think things are going a lot better now. So yeah, I felt this way for at least a week. That things are going better, I mean. Okay, so sustainability. We're back to normal here. I did regular regular streams last week. Yeah, breaks still going well. I definitely needed the Tenant to drill this in. And grit, not much of an opportunity to apply this. I don't think anything's going wrong though. Yeah, there we go. Say I'm gonna take a quick shower. Yeah. Look forward to hearing about the new game. Hey, Linda. You should also have Claude make you a tenant tool. The tenants, I think, are pretty quick. So that I'm not like super concerned with. Plus, I think stopping and slowing down sometimes are good things. And this is one of those cases where like if I spend a little bit of extra time typing this stuff out, it's probably a good thing. But yeah, I could have it make a tool. Only 2 left. Well, there are 3. I mean, sustainability has breaks as like a subtenant. But in my mind, these are the most important things. I think that once a tenant becomes second nature, it is not necessarily worth focusing on unless you regress. You ever review the archived ones? Like these ones at the bottom here, the ones I retired? Every once in a while, I'll think, why did I retire something? And then, yeah, I'll take a look at it again. Like this one's, for example, professionalism. I think that I've mostly adopted this as like just a core tenant. There are a couple of times I slip up and I still try to learn from those times. You see his cats on screen? Yeah. I saw that. I like that. I thought that was nice. All right, so tenants, good. Postmortem. Let's change this command. Oops, right. I'm not supposed to be using VS Code anymore. All right, ecom postmortem. Botland postmortem from October 8th, 2019. And Skeleseller postmortem from, I don't know when this was from. Let's find out. Let's mute. Hey, everyone. Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Nick. March 27th. There we go. Hey, Blub. Hey, Toulouse. Toulouse, I caught maybe 20 minutes or so of your Skeleseller stream, but only once you put it on YouTube. Kevin told me about it. I think you might have told me about it. And it just slipped my mind Saturday. I don't know what I was doing Saturday, so I might not have been able to join anyway. But yeah, thank you for playing. I hope you had a good time. I think it's not too often that you get to watch something from the beginning of its creation and then get to consume that product. A lot of times you're watching as kind of an outsider. Toulouse was on the inside, changing code, making suggestions. All right, what else do we have here? All right, Adam is designing a new game. Please read this. I don't think... Yeah, I don't think there's too much to this. I should probably change the FAQ command as well. Yeah, I'll just change this to the new game FAQ for now. New game FAQ. Whoops. And then normal FAQ. What is the new game FAQ? Here it is. There we go. Hey, Magnetic Pine. Will Abby be included? Asking on behalf of the Abby fan club. Well, she's here from day one, so I think she deserves to be the only name in the credits. Finished my playthrough. Really enjoyed my time in the game. You did good. It's a nice change of pace from my normal game choice. Nice. And thanks for the watch streak, Darkstorm. Some good support. Hey, Marazi. Yeah, I think documenting everything really helps. We'll be documenting quite a lot in the next week. In fact, actually, one of the things about designing a new game, maybe I should write this in the FAQ. What are we doing? Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of today, and if I need to set expectations on this, I will, but today is going to be a lot of ideation with not a lot of refinement and a lot of just like typing and thinking. So it is not like we're going to have a game prototype even started. We're probably not touching code at all for many days. Did you enjoy the German stream? Yeah, it was nice. It was a lot of work to watch it. I had to have my phone with live captions so that I can understand what he's saying. And I need to copy paste comments so I can understand what chat is saying. And yeah, it was hard to tell at a glance, like, is someone talking about me or someone talking about something unrelated? Hey, Syracuse. Hey, Ultramark. Makes us good. I mean, you could start just taking notes and see where it brings you. So new game. Let's put that here. Adam gave devs live. Hey, Kevin. The link 404s in the why not GD script. Let me take a look at that. Oh, I think I know why that happened. I think I copied an already broken link and I moved where this was. Okay, now it should work. Thanks for telling me about that. Hey, Timon. Thank you very much. In on day one. Very exciting. I think you should temper your expectations just a tiny bit, because I think there is some excitement here, but I'm not sure what people are expecting necessarily. So if you're expecting ideation and a lot of typing, then great, you're in the right place. If you're expecting like, oh man, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see how this pans out. I'm excited. I think it's gonna be nice. And thanks for the sub, Timon. Oh, you have the nerd as the profile picture. Yeah, the Greek nerd though. Ping people on Discord. All right, Galaxy Inferno already knows about this. I mean, we already have the ping for the going live notification. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna ping a bunch of people. Yeah. All right, some updates. I updated local vocal. If someone happens to have captions on for the stream, let me know if it seems like they're better from when I had captions on before. So literally all I did is just update it, but I updated it from like 0.1.0 to 0.6.0. So it's a decent amount of version changes. And as a result, now we should be able to activate commands more reliably, I hope. The next thing is I had a voice command where I could say this: check out the today command. Is it going to work? Okay, maybe you didn't get it. Check out the today command. Closed captions seem to be very delayed. I wonder if it's delayed on my system and that's why it's not doing this. Tail, stream captions. Uh-oh. Yeah, it is super delayed. Okay, and now it's running the thing that I just said from earlier. Well, anyway, it no longer freezes the camera, but obviously it is not doing a great job. Huh. Let me see if I can change this at all. I just started OBS pretty recently. Enable partial transcription. Okay, it's not as delayed anymore. I don't know what's going on. Well, I don't know. Let's keep an eye on this. Yeah, maybe there's something wrong. Take a look at that later. Cool ass video. Yeah, thanks for watching it. Looks like stream captions are very delayed. Yeah, and on Twitch they might be more delayed. Yeah. Even just writing to the file. It just showed me thinking Darkstorm. Yeah. Apparently even more delayed in outputting to Twitch. Yeah, thank you too, Monetic Bind. Yeah, for those who didn't see the video, it's now in the Postmortem command. So there's the link. This is about 30 minutes long. It is pretty much everything. If you saw me in the brainstorming for like what I want to talk about in this video, you already pretty much know the content of this video. Also, if you just watched all of Skeletal Development, you already probably know the contents of this. But yeah, for those who want to see it consolidated into a half hour, this is everything I thought was important enough to write here. I do think it would help anyone who is looking to get into game dev in a pretty serious way. Like some of the learnings are pretty minor and can be applied to anyone, but like most of them are, you're going to launch a game, here's some of the stuff you should know. Or at least what I thought you should know. So yeah, I updated this. It does seem like something's wrong with that. I made a change to this so that it doesn't freeze my face anymore. I fixed a very minor bug that somebody reported a while ago where if you type something like UK #1, it'll do the search correctly, but then the URL would not have URL encoded this. So there'd be a hash here, which means that when you search for this again, it would just type UK the next time. Anyway, very minor, but that's fixed. And then I vibe coded a thing, this tool is pretty nice. I've been wanting to do something like this for a while where it just remembers what I titled my stream. So like tomorrow, I could just change this to a 2 and then click update Twitch and create YouTube stream. And it would just be pretty much done. I mean, probably I'd change the description as well. There's a little bit more to it than that. And there are some things I got to fix because I'm running this in a Docker container and now it can't access Chrome on my machine to open a new tab. But yeah, anyway, pretty neat. I've been looking forward to doing that. Hey, Katie. How are you sustaining yourself doing game dev over these years? Savings combined with that my wife is working. Okay, need to update a lot of commands. I think we did most of this. This one I did. Next game, maybe I didn't. By the way, this is, again, why I started early. We're still like 4 minutes before the already early time. Yeah, next game is already updated. IDE is probably updated. Yeah, okay. All that seems fine. Probably need to change a bunch of things on Discord, YouTube, Twitch, and maybe even this page of Steam to say that I'm working on a new game. Yeah, let's just put that down here. Ask AI to set up linters with sensible defaults. This is something we'll do in here. Where is it? Implementation notes. Yeah. Okay, rider usage notes. Yeah, this is good. And is it possible to add an exception handler that plays a sound? Yeah, I'll put that in here too. Okay. I think we're all set. I think we're on track. All right, so for those wondering what is the next game idea, again, I want to lay some foundation here. I have a rough idea of what I'm going to work on. And that's why this is going to be like game design week. And the general idea is this. It is, the working title is Stuck in a Broken Tutorial. You might have heard me talk about this a while ago because I mentioned it on stream before. But yeah, so the idea is that it's kind of like a comedy, story-driven game. It's going to span a bunch of different genres, but in general, the game mechanics are probably going to be more along the puzzle side of things. So imagine this. You start the game, there's a title screen, you can set your settings and everything, and then you get into the game and it's a platformer, and it's like, hey, press, right to move to the right, and press A to jump, and press B to shoot a gun or something like that. I don't know what. But you start jumping your way through the world. Imagine there are some platforms here, and at some point you try to make this long jump and you can't, and you just fall down and down and down and down and like through the world. So it looks like you've kind of broken the game. And you encounter this person at the bottom that you're not supposed to find, the architect, and he says you're not supposed to be here, and like teleports you to a completely different game. So you go from this platformer game to like a farming sim or something like that. And as a player, you're thinking like, what happened here? Like, well, what is this game supposed to be about? And you come to find other agents acting in this world. And there's a lot of themes that I have in mind and all this other stuff going on. But in general, gameplay is going to be like the game tries presenting you with this sub game, and there's some mechanics that are off about it. You have to find out what's off and like leave that world and advance the story that way. Please let one of the environments you get sent to be Skeleseller. Yeah, there'll probably be some Skeleseller references, maybe a Botland one. Hey, William, thanks for streaming Skeleseller, by the way. It was fun to watch. I was watching for actually a pretty long time. I just didn't want to change your stream. And then when you ran into that small issue, I was like, I should probably speak up now. Yeah. That would be an assembly. Yeah, I think like I like the idea of this. So here's what I've done so far. I've got 17 pages of notes that I've taken ahead of time. And what I'd like to do is come up with a couple of different things. So we have two directions we can go here. We can go the more story focused direction, or we can go the more game focused direction. And I think we need to do both. Yeah, so the thing about not as short mini games, the way I'm looking at this is that each like sub game should be roughly the length of a play session. So maybe like 10 to 15 minutes for a lot of people. And if you want to play it all in one go, you totally can. But that way it's not, you know, super long. So yeah, I'm excited about this. I've got a whole bunch of notes here. So I want to finalize some of these things. We've got yeah, I'm going to be bouncing all over the place. Could have played it all day, but there are a lot of games. Nice. Yeah. I hope you like the other games too. So we've got this concept of splitting game worlds from the real world, and real world in this case is the world that the architect lives in. I have not come up with explanations for why you're able to transcend these game boundaries, but the architect is a bad video game designer basically. And he makes these worlds and then he doesn't monitor them, and the players within them like hate the games. But there's also this concept of like agents versus NPCs. So NPCs are picture like dumb characters with scripted lines, and agents are characters, not necessarily you, that can act of their own free will. So any agents you find are like bored to tears of the world that they're in because they're just with a bunch of robots pretty much, and they're trying to leave those worlds. There's like very, very much some Matrix undertones to a lot of what we're talking about here. This won't be an idle sit back game then, right? Yeah, no, you're going to control a player. Yep. Yeah. Stanley Parable, where you have some other game cameo endings. Yeah, I only played a little bit of that. How you find these game worlds, they're a container, which has its own storyline. So I was thinking that the sort of connective tissue is the real world, which is where the architect lives. But I don't know too much about how this is going to work. Like I've talked about this a little while ago. Man, how do I not have this? I want to delete the entire tab at once. I got to figure that out at some point because this is annoying. Maybe I'll just use VS Code for this today, but figure out how to have backspace delete a whole tab in Rider. Annoying to type notes the way I normally do. Taking a purple pill here. Going to be in both worlds. So Super Mario 64 had the castle as the overworld, so to speak, and then the paintings as the like sub worlds. And having this hub, I think, was pretty nice. So yeah, I got to think about that stuff for here too. All right, anyway, I want to start filing some of this as well. So like world rules and characters. I've got some of this stuff here. Here are characters, games and locations, rules of the world, yeah, all this stuff. And then I want to put the themes here too. I've got a lot of half-baked ideas here. We're going to hopefully fully bake them. Morning, Sean. Hey, yo. Hey, Mr. T-Boy. Is an okay game designer, but a really bad programmer. It's really easy to find bugs and break the game. So what I was thinking is this. Like, the architect kind of just lacks confidence, and that's why they don't watch these games. It's kind of like a note about you should playtest your own games. But they have the ability to watch the games, and it's not until you keep encountering them in their own world that they finally learn that, like, you're not out to get them or criticize them. In fact, maybe that's... yeah, I should probably... Okay, hold on a sec. Yeah, I have a bunch of things planned here that I haven't totally written down. Maybe the architect fears your criticism, like the other agents. Eventually learns that you're having fun breaking the games because you were bored out of your mind beforehand. But the bored part isn't actually true the way I've written the game so far. Yeah. Aiming for an explorative feel of the game or a guided experience so the game leads the player through it. It'll be more guided. One of the things that I was kind of annoyed by even with Skeleseller, just in terms of progression, is that if you can make choices then you can make bad choices. And as a game designer, you need to accommodate everyone. So there are going to be people who make bad choices in your game and then don't like your game because they're like, well, why was I allowed to do that? Or why didn't the game allow me to change things or something? And it's like, this is strategy 101. For there to be strategy means there's a good strategy and a bad strategy. And if you use the bad strategy, you'll probably have a bad time. But in open world games, a lot of what you have to account for is players choosing any direction. And if there's no guide, and usually open world games have some kind of guide or some kind of like, well, at least go east and go to this next town or something, then players are going to go northwest and they're going to go find the difficult area in the game. And maybe some players enjoy that and have fun. But for the ones who accidentally did that or didn't understand where they were supposed to go, you need to steer them back on track. So the takeaway from all this stuff is, I think it'll be a predetermined game order. So like you'll always go from platformer to farming sim to space shooter to card game to whatever else. By the way, I have some hilarious jokes, at least from my point of view. I was thinking at one point you end up in a card game, but it's a literal card game. So there's one card and every other game you've ever played is a cards game. I don't know if this joke will work in other languages, but I think it's hilarious. What's your perspective on using AI agents to code your game? Do you use it? So I did not use it for Skeleseller other than for a tool that we use for playtesting that I then threw away. But for this game, I'll probably use it more. You have to assume that people will mess it up no matter how small the possibility. Yeah. And that's where I don't want to have to plan like, well, what if you did it in order 7, 3, 2, 5, 6, 1 or something, but someone else does it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And yeah. Hey, Hideo, sounds like a fun idea. Makes me think of There Is No Game genre. Enjoy the week. Thank you. Yeah. Pardon East Asian languages because they don't have plurals. Yeah. Although I do think we can make it more obvious. Like it doesn't just need to be that. I think the joke would be that you draw a card from your deck and you're like, oh, the deck's gone now. And I'm holding this one card. And the card could be like super high res art because we only need to make one card. I think it would be quite funny. So yeah, a lot of those sorts of things. And one of the other big questions I have, I'm gonna write this here. Where is it? I talk about, yeah, this. For the IRL player, what's the overall message? Is it a satire? I think that for it to be a satire, we need to poke fun at genre norms. Like, yeah, which may be hard to do in 10 to 15 minutes. In Metroidvanias, there is a lot of backtracking, but we can't easily communicate that quickly. And to rush it would be to ruin the joke. Really strike a chord with both comedy and pathos. Yeah, I haven't played those games. And yeah, I want to think a lot about the story and the characters and what you feel as a player as you're playing this. I mean, I do want comedy to kind of be the foremost thing, but I think a lot of people will take it to be a game in the end. And for those people, I want it to still be a fun game. Yeah. What if the game itself claims that the game is open world, but each challenge or map requires a key and you can only get the next key after finishing the previous one, and you can only do each mini game only once? I mean, if this is a joke, then I think we could work that joke into the game. But I think claiming to be an open world game and delivering something that is decidedly not that would only annoy players. Oh, I see. Okay, I thought we were only talking about games. I've never seen that abbreviation. But yeah, I did see this movie. I thought it was pretty nice and refreshing. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, just making sure. People guess different kinds of words and get dropped into the genre of game world. So that's the kind of choice that I don't think I want to allow. I want there to be some choice in the game, but not some like, we're going to drastically shift what your experience is compared to someone else's. Because the other thing you have to keep in mind for a lot of these jokes is there's going to be like a setup and then a payoff for some of these. And it might take a long time. Maybe there's a setup in minute number 15 and it doesn't pay off till an hour later. If you can change where you're going, then maybe that payoff is until 10 hours later and you've forgotten the joke. I don't know how long this game's going to be, but just to illustrate the point. So yeah, story beats. I want to figure out other characters. I have some planned here. There's player. Your name is just literally player. their sidekick, whose name I was actually thinking of naming literally sidekick, and then the architect. I like the architect better than the designer, but I could name him that too. Interesting to see your process applying something to the original idea. Can you summarize it briefly? Yeah, so there's the today command for that. Please do take a look at that. And I'll write a little bit more in here about this just so that people can all be up to date. So for example, here's how I envision the starting, like the opening to the game. You start on a title screen so that you can change settings, etc. So that you, as a player, can change settings. You enter into a platformer that is trying to teach you things. Moves right, A jumps, etc. You encounter a long jump that you can't actually make. You fall in the chasm. The chasm, or you fall to the ground just beneath you, but you actually pass through. Oh, Abby, I'm sorry. Okay, I need to sit up, right? You actually pass through the terrain and plummet for quite a distance. You enter a dark, somber world and meet the architect. He says you shouldn't be here and teleports you into a farming simulator game. You work your way through games in this way, breaking them and discovering what's going on in this world. Yeah. To highlight that they're unimportant and just a sidekick. So I actually want to go the opposite route, and I really, really like what Banjo-Kazooie did for this, and I am very likely doing something like this in this game. But Banjo-Kazooie had, what is it, Mumbo Forms? Is that going to find this? I want to find a picture, because there's an important thing here. Oh, man. All right, well, I can't quickly find it, but if we type like Banjo-Kazooie crocodile form, maybe. Yeah, okay, here's a good example. So for those who haven't seen Banjo-Kazooie, I'm gonna explain everything here. Banjo-Kazooie was an N64 game, and it had a bear and a bird duo, and the bear was wearing yellow shorts and a blue backpack, and the bird was in the backpack. In order for you to know that this was your character, regardless of what you transformed into, they would always give you yellow shorts and a blue backpack. So as a crocodile, so that you didn't be like, well, is that me? Like, why am I a different character? It's like, this is you, the same character. So I want to keep some identity the same for all of the agents in this world. So your character will have some defining characteristic. Maybe it's a purple cloak or something. And they'll just always have a purple cloak, regardless of which game they're in. And a nice thing about this game is I plan to pretty much just use like every asset pack that exists. So if we go over here, you click any one of these, like this one, for example, we can now make a game with these assets. And all we need in terms of custom art is for like this character to have a purple cloak, let's say. And now that's you, and you're in this other game, and we can use these sprites and yeah, then move on. So what's nice about that is like, I don't know what price they have for, I know it says name your own price, but usually there's like a minimum price. But like each asset pack is probably like $5 to $15. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Is it Adam or is he like a wizard? It's not me, and they're not a wizard. I still need to figure out the lore behind their real world. But like game designers exist in this world, and the architect believes that they're just making games, but they don't think they're very good at it. Just started listening. Sounds like you're scoping quite large for the next game. Just kind of planning things out. Just trying to figure out what we're gonna do here. Excuse me. You want to have some kind of moral or takeaway for this idea, or do you want this to be just a flash in the pan comedy experience? So I have a bunch of themes written down, and I still want to I want to explore these a bit more. But one is about identity and persistence. Like, who are you? How is it that you can go between these worlds? I wanted to talk about like the architect's story arc being that they go from this like unconfident game developer to an actual confident one because they're making fun games for the player, but not in the way they intended. So they like embrace that. In fact, let me write that down too. The architect can embrace that they're making fun games, even if they're unintentionally fun. What other themes do I have written here? Yeah, friendship. I was thinking about, you probably have several friendships formed throughout the game. Humor, of course, and then control and agency. Like, tutorials in many games are meant to keep you on track, and yet your goal throughout this entire game is to break tutorials and escape those games. And like, what does that mean about you? So yeah. How far into the game can you bend spoons? Oh, immediately. That's your standout quality. I did not see the Badger game, no. What will endgame be like? I'm not sure yet. Yeah, we got to plan a lot of this stuff. Like I said, I just have some sketches of ideas for this. Are they going to talk back to the architect? At some point, yes. Also, it's interesting that now we have 2 Booleans in chat. At some point, yes. But the way I pictured, like I wrote out a little bit of an outline here. Again, people don't have access to this document, but wait, where was it? Oh, opening. Here we go. Like you start on the title screen, you start the game. There's a platformer, you fall for ages. I wrote some dialogue options here too. But the very first time you see the architect, it's just like they're shocked that you're there. Like, oh my God, you're a player for my game. Like they can recognize you, and they tell you to get out, and then they just zap you into another world. Well, you go into this other world, and now you meet the sidekick. The sidekick is like watching you talk to NPCs, and they're like, that's another agent. They can actually like make their own decisions. So then you talk to the sidekick, and you find out that they already discovered as much as they can to break this game, and they lead you through it all. And you go into the library in the town, and you just keep walking right, and you just keep walking right, and it gets to these untextured tiles, and the sidekick is like, this is as far as I've ever gotten. I don't know what else to do. And you find out that like you go to sleep and you dream up a new world almost. I don't know, maybe that's the end result of this, is like you become a game developer. I should kind of think of that. Yeah. How does the game end? I think it could be with you spontaneously becoming a game developer. Maybe there's some connective story about how all of the game devs in this world started as players who were curious about the world around them. I kind of like that. How long did it take you for the design doc to be at this stage? So this isn't so much of a design doc as just a spewing of ideas. A lot of times my design docs are then I refine those ideas and I make sure that they're the final thing that's going to be in the game. So this was many, many months, actually over the course of years, of me just writing ideas down. But it wasn't like, if you were to draw out ideas over time, you'd have something kind of like this. Because when I first came up with the idea, every once in a while, I'm like, oh, that'd be nice for that game. Like I keep a game ideas note. And then once I thought, okay, this is going to be the next game I work on, I'm like, let me put a lot of ideas into this thing. Yeah. Really needs to sell it that you want to learn who the architect is. Yeah, I think it'll be a little bit spooky, but not in like an actual scary way. Like there will be a dark chamber with very little light, and the architect is like, okay, so here's one of the other ideas that I fell in love with that I'm very likely doing. There's this concept of the real world, which is where the architect lives. And whenever you're there, it's only piano music. And I think I can really set the tone with, I've already started composing some things for this. So I could set the tone with like, hey, this is a little bit eerie. This is a little bit spooky. I don't know what's going on here. And yeah, you meet the architect and he just blasts you into a different world. So I think it's going to be pretty neat. Is there a brainstorming session going on here? Yeah, I've got the today command that talks about this some more. I'm here in 2026 for the start of the new game. Yeah. You have to navigate with it being a jab at Steam discussion forums. So that's what I want to be careful about with the satire route. I was originally thinking there are sort of 2 levels we could go with satire for this. There could either be satire on games themselves or satires on game. Oh, that's weird. Hang on, something's wrong here. Duplicate selection, huh? Something is wrong. Oh, I'm not in my main profile. Huh, interesting. I didn't expect that. Okay, yeah, satire on games or satires on game devs. And I don't like the game dev route because a lot of people won't probably understand. Like I'd have to talk about things like microtransactions and AI usage in games and I don't know, like slopware and high prices. And I don't really think that's the route to go. And the satire on games, I was just writing this a little bit earlier, but I think you'd have to engage with the game for long enough for you to get the satire. So like think about it. If we talk about first person shooters or if we talk about card games, like what are the tropes of those genres? And let's just take, I don't know, card games because maybe they're more common for some people. But so card games, I think a lot of like deck builders are kind of in the roguelike vein, which comes to breaking the game somehow. There are I guess I haven't played a ton of card games. I played like Hearthstone and Slay the Spire and Monster Train. Yeah, I guess I don't really have any commentary about these games I'd want to do. So I don't think I'll probably do those sorts of things. I think it'll be almost like a satire on tutorials, which is not a relatable topic, maybe. Yeah. So I'm leaning away from doing this. Yeah. I think it'll just be an experience. Drawing the card to make it better. See, those are the kinds of things that I think would be kind of cool to do. And I want to make sure that not every game is like that. I will write this down. So one of the ideas that I had, like here's a genre trope. In RPGs, a lot of times you have the sort of paper doll you equip. So we look at like Diablo 2 inventory. This. So let me shrink this down. So we have a weapon, a shield, armor, gloves, boots, ring, glove, amulet, and helm. So you have that many equipment pieces and that's it. One of the things I always thought was kind of funny about RPGs is like, why can you only equip 2 rings? you have 10 fingers and even then you could fit many rings. And if they're super magical, like wouldn't you just cram your hand full of rings so that you're super powerful? So like, I think it'd be funny to have a game in this game where instead of just 2 ring slots, you have like 30 of them. And the point is just equip whatever ring you find in the game to become super powerful so you can, you know, destroy the boss in the tutorial you weren't supposed to be able to beat. Hey, Asama Samo. Welcome in. Thanks for the raid. How's it going? We are designing a new game today, and I am just kind of yapping all day. So welcome in. You're witnessing day 1 of what will likely be a multiple 100-day long journey. But yeah, what were you working on today, Osama? Or playing, I guess. Oh, hey, you've been in the stream a lot. Yeah. Just streaming Cuphead? Nice. Yeah, I haven't... Well, actually, maybe I played a little bit of it, but I haven't played a lot of it. I really like the aesthetic. This is actually kind of funny. I like this. Do I have the ring idea here? I don't. Okay, I'm going to write that down. The RPG ring idea of having like 30 rings across your hands would be nice for beating a tutorial boss that's supposed to be unbeatable. I'm going to just copy that there. Will there be a game reminiscent of Amiga games? Possibly. It all depends on what ideas. So this is where I was saying earlier that we have the story route that we can go and then the game route we can go. I think I want to talk about the story route first. I know I'm very like unfocused right now. Every game goal is to find a ring, and by collecting all the rings, you can escape and defeat the architect with his intrusive tutorials. Well, you're not supposed to defeat the architect. You're supposed to befriend the architect. I do want friendship to be one of the core themes. Trying to figure out which 30 rings to wear to optimize your build to be a nightmare. But no, I get the game design reason for it. I'm saying what's the lore reason for only being able to wear 2? And maybe it's like magic overload, or I don't know, then you can't wield a weapon easily or something. But in general, like games just don't talk about that. They're not like, well, why can't you wear 2 amulets around your neck? Yeah, capture the architect on a little ball. I wanted there to be a Pokemon reference, but Pokemon's got some patents like around how you capture things. And so I think we can do a reference, but we just can't. We got to be careful about how we code it. especially playing games growing up in English. It will not be my first language. Yeah, I think there's a big risk of this game, which is that if it feels like a tutorial, people will skip all of the text. And we have to plan for that. Like, if people are going to skip all the text, how will they figure out what's going on? Because from their point of view, it's just a tutorial and like, oh, I just want to explore the game. But from my point of view, it's like, that's the point of the game, is for you to feel like you're in a tutorial, but not for you to skip it. It actually would be kind of a funny thing. I should probably split this up into like jokes and whatever else. In fact, yeah, let's put this here. Ideas, jokes. There could be a tutorial that if you try to skip, it just keeps like talking more slowly, more and more slowly. Well, so one of the story themes is that the architect wasn't supposed to be watching you play the games, because if he was watching you, he'd understand why his games are broken. So he doesn't watch all the time. But yeah, I guess there could be a point where he is watching. Every time you throw a Pokeball, your character looks away at a distraction. Yeah. I wonder what lawyers would think about that. Tutorials aren't fun, at least not for me. So the tutorial needs to be fun in a way where you can do stuff. Yeah. I think it should be clear that like the point is to break your expectations of what is expected from you in that game. So the tutorial is going to try to teach you like, hey, here's how you jump. Again, in that very first game idea that I mentioned here, like imagine you've got some platforms like here and here, and it's going to say something like hold A to long jump. Like, this is a tutorial, it's telling you what to do, but you literally cannot do it. You have to fall into the chasm, and then that lets you explore the rest of the story. So players who don't read this will probably still figure it out. Players who do read it, I mean, they have to do it to proceed anyway. So, hey, Robox. You get a Rossetti-like experience? Yeah, where we just yell at you. Like, hey. Actually, that could be kind of interesting. Could be that we say, look, this is a game about breaking tutorials. The text isn't meant to be... Yeah, the text is actually helpful. I mean, I'm probably not going to do this, but it's still worth writing down here. A lot of cool Easter eggs. Yeah, and I think one of the other nice things... I wrote a bunch of reasons why this is a good game to make, but one of them is that we can use a lot of different assets, and as a result, we don't need to get like the perfect assets. We instead change our game to meet the assets that we have. And I could actually ask other game devs for like, could I use your assets for your prior games? And that way it's not an asset pack, but it was a like tailored set of assets for that one game. I think that could be kind of interesting. I wonder how many people would even be open to that. Will they also have an unironed shirt? Yeah, probably in like 7 or 8 of the games. He's one of those tutorials with an unbeatable boss. Yeah, that's what I was talking about, the RPG one, that you could equip like 40 rings and then eventually beat that boss. Don't you also have to code tons of different mechanics? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's going to be a lot. Even though there's no avoiding it. Yeah, I think Stanley Parable is like that. Okay, so I've got a bunch of ideas. We still need to file these ones. I've got this stuff written down. So, yeah, story-wise, I want to look through some of the story ideas I have. Let's maybe file some of these into a better list. Because I just slammed everything into this document. So this is good. Starting a platformer. Yeah, that's unneeded. I called him the orchestrator originally. Gameplay is a UI puzzle. You can duplicate items, click hidden buttons. I'll write this down here too. Okay. Let's keep working our way through this list. I'm just looking for any story ideas. Yeah, one tutorial should just be a loading screen that fills a progress bar, then another, and slowly fills a third, then undoes the first. Yeah, I have a bunch of things I wrote down over the years that maybe turn into something but aren't something yet. Add references to this. Look at iconic games. Yeah, so okay, I should probably write some like gag ideas here, or maybe mechanic ideas. I want to change my bet. No can do. Plans have genre jumps in a way. 1 second you're farming, next second you're fighting enemies in cave. Yeah, I mean that's like the core of the game. So yeah, that is definitely going to happen. Make a separate document with the good elements or just delete stuff. I will probably keep everything in here, and I probably won't make this public. So if it's hard to read, I could just increase the size a little bit. But the intent is not necessarily for people to read off of this document. I'll just talk about this stuff as I go through. Is there a structure that I've shared with chat? I have shared a structure that I tend to use that I have just kind of been refining from a while. Yeah, this inventing things from scratch. So if you're curious, take a look at this. Okay, mechanic ideas. We're going to actually, you know what? This is a little bit harder for me to deal with. Sorry, I do need to shrink this a bit. But I can close that. Maybe make it a little bit easier. All right, here. Okay. Yeah, I just got to organize some of this stuff. What is that? And what are you doing? Check out the, wait, no, sorry. Let me do this. There we go. Yeah. Take a look at that. I've got an FAQ. Hey, kids. And welcome in, Bugs Creator. Okay, what else do we have? Yeah, I want to figure out, like, do you carry items between worlds? Like, do you have an inventory? If you have an inventory, is it in every game? And is there some common UI if there is? Interesting stream, thanks. Yeah. I can't see if you've got different documents, maybe curious. Wonder if you'd throw out ideas now you'd actually love later on. Yeah, it's possible. I think this is one of those things where, like, as we have this game take shape, it'll be clearer what it should be. I mentioned this in that video, and I know you saw the video, but for Skelesaur took 2 years. And for the first year, we still weren't sure, is it idle? Is it active? And we eventually settled on that it's active. But there were a lot of ideas for if it were idle that probably would have been good. We just didn't go that route. With that said, I think the game ended up being better being active. But yeah, this will probably have a similar process where there's a bunch of things that we might throw out. Now, with that said, one of the nice things here is any of these mechanic ideas that we come up with, they can be slotted in almost anywhere. So that's where I think the story is going to be really important, because as long as we hit the high level beats, it doesn't really matter where it takes place. Like the first game is going to be a platformer just because so many people had that as their intro to gaming with Super Mario Bros. But it doesn't really matter that it's a platformer. It just matters that when you eventually make it between 2 platforms and you try jumping and you fall in this like chasm, that you're like, oh, I can break the game. That's the important part of this. So could this have been a farming simulator? Could this have been a roguelike game? Like, yeah, could have been those things too. So I think there will be a lot of room to be creative here. Which is another reason why I want to work on this. And another reason why I think if this does well, it'd be cool to make a sequel to this. Or, yeah, it'd probably be hard to tack on content if there's a story that gets complete. Yeah. This is not a secret. It's just that I don't plan on sharing the document, that's all. UI type trope, you could have a level where you have to adjust the contrast of the background until you can barely see some symbol, but if you increase it too much in this level, you actually get a clue or cheat for some other level. I mean, I'll write this stuff down. There's an entire subreddit called like bad UI design or bad UI battles or something, where imagine you're trying to pick a phone number and they have a slider. And as you slide this thing up, it goes from like 111 all the way up to 999 which is at least the US format for this stuff. So in order to pick a phone number, it's like almost impossible. And it's not meant to be fun. It's meant to just be a joke. I think there are going to be a lot of those sorts of things that appear in this game where it's like, oh yeah, I don't expect a button to work that way, but imagine you see a button in the game that says like continue and you click it and it doesn't do anything, but you have to actually like drag the button somewhere else and then click it. So like Baba is you style breaking mechanics sorts of things. And I need to make sure that those are fun in isolation. Like it shouldn't just be, oh, I'm going to try every random thing in the game. There should be some amount of thought to it. And yeah, I've got to plan all that out. Needs a clicker game that obnoxiously tells you where to click for 10 minutes. So some of the ideas that I had here for these game worlds, I wanted to flesh out to a point where there are things to explore in that world, but that you don't have to ever explore. So a long time ago, I commissioned artwork from someone for like a Pokemon style game. And I still have all of that artwork and I love the designs that this person did. And I never used them. We never made the game. But I mean, I still have all the art, like I said. So what would be cool is if we had a Pokemon style game in this, then normally you'd expect, oh, it's kind of a throwaway game, right? So we'll make like 3 monsters or something like that. Well, I've got like 50 of them. So I could actually like fully fledge a game inside of here that people, when they realize like, oh man, I caught 4 or 5, like how many of these are there? And then they just keep catching more and more. I think things like that could be nice to do. So I think there are a lot of nice touches you can add to this game. Yeah, very interesting game idea. Thanks, Oppressal. Do you know the TV game Fort Boyard? They had this guy with a very long beard up in a tower who'd ask questions and riddles, then somehow also overview the whole game. I do not know that, no. Yeah. What does SIABT stand for? It's Stuck in a Broken Tutorial. That's the working title of the game. I've got to actually like put this in. Yeah, let me change that. Well, for me, I'll keep this here, but new game FAQ. Did I write the name of this? No, I didn't. Working title, Stuck in a Broken Tutorial. And let me make a thing for this over here. An expansion. Do I have a Skeleseller one? I do, yeah. Okay, SIABT, Stuck in a Broken Tutorial. There we go. So now I should be able to type that in a document or something if I want to, right? SIABT. Yeah, nice. Sounds almost like Fever Meme. I haven't played Fever Meme. Are you afraid that people will like one of the tutorials so much that they're then mad when it ends? No, I'm not too concerned about that. And they won't be very long. And the ones that you can explore more of, I think people will appreciate being able to explore more of those. Will they progress linearly or will you go deeper and then return up? Yeah, I'm not sure about that. There will be some crossovers. Like I was kind of picturing that the opening was you start in a platformer, you meet the architect, then he teleports you to the farming simulator, and then you sleep within that game and have a like a fever dream about a combination of the platformer and farming sim, which is kind of hinting at, I guess, that you are a game designer all along yourself. So that story actually kind of works. But yeah, you'd be in the platformer, but the platforms would be formed out of like carrots. And instead of shooting a gun that shoots, you know, I mean, like cartoon bullets, you'd be shooting out crops and there'd be like rakes everywhere and stuff. And yeah, so it's a way to kind of repeat some of this. What's more fun for you, coming up with the ideas or coding? I don't know. I think coming up with the ideas is interesting to some extent, but then at some point it does get to be work of like, how do we make this cohesive? If well executed, I'd happily pay $5 to $6 and play for an evening. I can't tell if this is partially tongue in cheek, but yeah, I don't know what the price of this game would be or how long it would be. It might be like 10 hours when we're done with it. It might be short. Who knows? Let me see. What was I gonna look at here? There was something I just talked about. Oh yeah, the whole you becoming a game developer yourself. I do like that idea. Where is this? Was it in questions? How's the game end? Yeah. I like this. I want to put this there. And actually, maybe that's, you can introduce mechanics. That would be kind of cool. I like the idea of you slowly becoming an architect yourself. Like you have this power within you that you're unaware of, but it comes out in subtle ways. in one of the like tentative plans that I made, I have the player sleep within the farming simulator and go to a fever dream mashup of the platformer and farming sim. It could be that this is that game dev power expressing itself. Yeah, and I'll write that down too. No, it's not a reference to something impressive. Yeah. Coding a dozen sub games in a single game sounds like a lot of work. Yeah, it probably will be, but I think it'll be interesting. If I saw this game on sale for 50 cents, I'd definitely buy it. Hey, Lava Cake. Text adventure game where you must kill a dragon and they jokingly suggest you kill it with your bare hands, only for that to be the solution. Yeah, yeah. I like that sort of thing. I'll write this down. Maybe I should even like subcategorize this as ideas from chat. At least when they're copy pastable like that. Are you gonna be other characters that are trapped? Yeah. So there's gonna be two kinds of characters. I mentioned this earlier. There's gonna be NPCs and there's gonna be agents. NPCs are the dumb NPCs from the NES and Super Nintendo days and stuff, where they're just like, lovely weather we're having, and maybe they've got like one of their voice line like, town sure is great here. I don't know. And then agents are going to be ones who actually are like intelligent actors who can make their own decisions. So you'll find other agents, you'll find tons of NPCs, but the NPCs aren't going to matter at all. In fact, one of the themes will probably be that now that you're aware that NPCs are just like coded things, you're like bothered by their presence because they're only ever going to say those two lines. The agents are AI, right? The agents are AI in the old video game sense. And hey, Arsha. Could be considered within the frame of the controls the gamer will be using. So this is going to be probably a controller based game with like keyboard as an option. But I think controller would be the best. But the nice thing about considering controller from the beginning is that I expect you to have some way to move. So like WASD could work and a few other keys. So maybe there's like an act button and a cancel button and I don't know, something else. Yeah. But I will probably develop most of this using a controller, I think. Isn't this going to be quite art intensive? So that's where, like I said, asset packs will come in, because we can use almost any asset pack. I could just click this and be like, okay, that's going to be our like farming simulator game. Look, we got some crops, we got some trees, we got a bunny character. The only thing we would need to do is make it so that the main character of the game has the same identity. So here it's just like whatever, a cat or a bunny or something. But like you're probably not a cat or a bunny. So we need to just put like some defining characteristic here. Maybe it's that like clasp they have there. And every character that you see that clasp. That just as an example. It'll probably be a piece of clothing that's much more obvious than 4 pixels. Will it be a game that takes a long time? It'll probably be a game that takes a long time, yeah. Hey, Krasner. Thank you. They're never deep enough for a real game? Yes, exactly. This is part of the reason why this is like the perfect game for me to make. Now, with that said, by the way, as far as the game team, and I have this in the FAQ, everyone who worked on Skeleseller has also agreed to work on this game, maybe with some different time constraints. Where is that? Yeah, who's working on the game? So like Quickie Joe will be doing some art for this. I think it'll be great. And if all we need to do is change a few graphics to make them clear characters, it's going to be much easier than having to be like, let's add 14 adventures to this game and let's add whatever 10 items to that game. And woohoo, indeed. I'm super happy to hear that you were excited, Quickie Joe. Hey, Versace, have you thought about making a game about where you create bots that fight automatically? I think there'll be a reference in here. I think we'll make Botland 4. Okay, let me keep pulling some things from over here. Also, what are we doing on time? Yeah, we've got about 5 minutes till the first break. Yeah, this I want to put somewhere here. I just got to keep looking through these unfiled things. Title screen could change based on which game you're in. Yeah, I do want to figure out the connectivity stuff too. So I guess UI ideas. I don't think I want to do this, the title screen changing. But the idea that I had here is, imagine you start up the game and it says at the top, stuck in a broken tutorial. and there's like play game, continue, all the usual stuff, settings, quit. And there's some theme to this. But then when you start the game up again and you left off in the space shooter game, there's like a galaxy in the background, and play game has a spaceship, and there are like asteroids around the continue button. But if you pick up from the, just keep going with this stuff, card game, there are a bunch of cards in the background. I think it's just extra artwork for something people won't necessarily see. So I think this is like high cost, low benefit, but I'll still leave it there as an idea, because everything's low cost when it's a bullet point in a document. That's the fun of this. 10-year following anniversary in October. Wow. Hey, Lammy. These types of streams are the best. I think it's a lot of fun. Could be games you return to once you have different items. Maybe the games themselves have changed. Yeah, these are more like specific mechanic ideas. So I guess just kind of general mechanic ideas we should write here. Anything else? Yeah, I haven't seen There Is No Game, and now that I hear that this game is like it, I'm not going to check it out because I don't want to be influenced by it. We'll have a tutorial on how to use settings. That would actually be hilarious if that's the one non-broken tutorial. We're like, hey, you can modify the volume sliders here. You should do that now. And you modify. Oh man. All right, I'm gonna write this here. When you already have a splash image to show for the minigame booting up, could reuse image and use it as a background. Hey, Irish. Not necessarily. So picture like Super Mario 64, the different paintings. I guess this kind of was the splash image, but in general, you walked into a painting and you just appeared in the world. So that interstitial that showed up with the stars was not custom based on each world. Now, granted, I know that the artwork is custom based on each world. So I don't know exactly how this is going to work. But for example, the way you go from the... Actually, maybe I should write this down. Yeah. Maybe each game does have an explicit title screen. And when you're warped between games, you see that title screen. Because I was originally thinking that when you leave the platformer and go into the farming simulator game, that you just be in the farming simulator game. Like you wake up, so the screen fades in from black, and you're just in a house. And you go outside, and there's a guy talking to you about like, hey, your grandpa left you this farm. And you're like, oh my God, I don't care about this. Like, where am I? What am I doing? Maybe use it to generate different start screen per game for less effort. I still want to be careful about AI art. But I do think there could be an AI art game within this. I think it'd be a very funny joke. There could be a game with obvious AI art. The blurred line here is that I do plan on making an AI disclosure for this game too. And I would have to say that an entire level is generated with AI, but it's for the sake of a joke. Yeah. Is the architect old or young, and how did you meet him? Is it chance or is it meant to be? Set up by an overarching architect, aka Adam. Are they old or young? I haven't thought about age. How'd you meet him? You stumbled upon him after falling through the world in the first game. And is it a chance or is it meant to be? It's meant to be. I mean, this is part of like, you cannot avoid meeting the architect. And some of these things, yeah, it's kind of an interesting topic, I guess, which is fate in games. Like any story-driven game, or almost any story-driven game, like has you go through some steps no matter what. And lots of them have you going through all of the steps. And it's not unless you get an open world game that you can kind of skip some of the steps. But like imagine if in, I don't know, like A Link to the Past, and you might not have played this game, but in this game, in the very opening sequence, your uncle dies, and well, I think he dies, and leaves you his sword. If you don't, like, there are glitches to work around this, but your uncle has to die in that game. There's no way around it. And in a sense, it's like, well, it's kind of fate for the character, but I guess in a different sense, it's like, well, we're telling a story. It's sort of like if you wrote a novel, the reader doesn't get to pick to like tear out 5 pages and not have that event happen. Your grandpa left you this farm. Now farm simulator. Your grandpa left you this farm. Now tower defended from wolves and pests. I like that idea. Yeah, it's pretty good. And the only thing that carries across the whole game and also counter attack all the desperation presses that have been made. Okay, yeah. I'll write this up down. I like some of these ideas. Yeah. Wondering how you'd stumble upon the architect. Did you fall in a well that turned out to lead to this world? So I don't know if you heard, but originally the idea was this. So imagine you've got a platformer game. So you got some platforms here, and you're able to jump like here, and then you're able to jump here. And then at some point it says, okay, now here's, you have to make a long jump. You cannot make this long jump. You will fall. And there's a platform here, but you fall through the world and like very far down. And the architect is in this other world that's off of this one. So that's how you meet them. An ad break is about to start, so I'm going to try using the voice command for this, but it might not work. Is it jump time? And it should not freeze my screen, but it might be very delayed. Yeah, it looks like it's delayed. All right, well, it is going to kick this off. Oh, no, that's a different thing. Yeah, I got to figure out why this is taking so long. Come on. Yeah. It's jump time. Hello again. Um, I just realized I have the wrong details on YouTube. I don't know what happened. Close the game. Let me take a look at this. It said I was designing a multiplayer game, which is not correct. I don't know how this happened though. So what does it show me streaming right now? Because I just edited something. Yeah, designing a new game. Yeah, I'm sorry. I did not mean to ignore YouTube chat here. I don't know what. I think the tool I 5 coded is broken. Yeah, apologies everyone. Does Adam see messages on YouTube? Yeah, I'm sorry. I just had the wrong thing. Do you go back and reread your notes? Yeah, this is from like an hour ago now. I feel like I'm not in the habit of rereading them, so I usually opt out of taking them. I do sometimes, but that's not the only reason I take notes. It's also sometimes to retain information. And you get the text readout when you do other stuff in the game. How long have you been game programming? What AI agents? And you could do MCP. Yeah, so if you're still here, I can answer this question. I'm not going to just, sorry. I'm not going to answer just in case you're not here, because I do want to get back to the game design stuff. I don't know how this happened, though. And I got to go delete the other stream, right? So this is on the right playlist, I hope. Yeah, I'm sorry to everyone who was expecting a multiplayer game. Again, no idea how this even occurred. Live. Yeah, because I have this here, designing a new game, day 1. Why did it stream to this one? And how to get that title? All right, well, I mean, I guess we're going to delete this. Okay. Aren't there tools that put those together? Yeah, I normally just keep them both on my screen. It's just I opened up the wrong tab. Yeah, I was surprised it was a multiplayer game. Yeah, new game already. Yep. Take a look at this. Okay, so where do we leave off here? Yeah, filing these ideas that I had because I wanted to consolidate the story stuff and I wanted to talk about this some more and then figure out how we can communicate all of this. I love some of these ideas though. It'd be funny to have a survival game with a breath meter, hunger meter, thirst meter, have I pet a cat recently meter. And you have to actually manage all these things. While in Lana stream, I was joking about this. I'm going to make looking at your watch simulator where all you do is check the time. It's 5:53, but double check by angling the camera at your wrist. I'll write this down. A game that's fleshed out but has no purpose. Make a card playing game where you play cards if there's no opponent. Sure. Cozy game for monsters. Monsters enjoy horror, so you create horrors for the monsters to enjoy. Yeah, I think something like that could be interesting. I want to be careful not to make it scary. Also, I do want to use some asset packs if I can. We need to make sure we don't like recategorize the game as mature just because of one sub game. All right, a lot of these are written with joke intros here. Could be fun to have a title screen game. That's actually pretty good, especially if we have a title screen for every game. Start game, load game, delete game, arcade mode, boss rush, settings, pirate game, quick game, multiplayer, leaderboards. Hey, Shine. Are you talking about jumping before and falling, but it didn't click? I get it now? Yeah. Yeah, I hope that makes it clear too. How do you make sure the chosen game idea is worth months or years of work? Design and prototyping. That's all you can really do. I think if everyone had some like golden compass for which ideas are good, then you would only ever be working on stuff that you know is going to be successful, which is, I mean, pretty much impossible for game dev, I think, at least new games. So yeah, the best you can do is think about it, ask people, and test it. And ideally you test it long before you feel like I've got a finished game. So we will be prototyping soon. What's the new game about? Yeah, check out the today link right there. Yeah. There are all those rock sims, etc., where you just sit there, maybe a little break with a nice tune. You're just an inanimate object, but you can progress at any point. I love it. Do you think that some ideas are only good at certain levels of polish? Yeah, definitely. There was a game called Geometry Wars, and I feel like one of the draws of this game was that the aesthetics are really nice and colorful, but you're just shooting shapes. So if it were just the shooting shapes and people didn't polish this, would it have been as fun? I don't think it would have been as fun. It might have still been fun, but like it looks really nice for what it's trying to achieve here, and it's got some cool effects and everything. because you have a bunch of small experiences that each require their own playtest. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, on the flip side, like some things become easier. Like in Skeleseller, you're in the same town for like 4 hours. So if there's a memory leak, people are going to probably feel it by the end of that 4 hours. In this one, it's like we could test each individual game. Yeah. Will the music be as earwormy? Will there be a tutorial about making sheet music? I haven't gotten too much to this. The only music thing I've decided so far is that like the real world in the game, which is not actually the real world, will have only piano music. And I think it'd be neat if actually, what if each architect, this is kind of an interesting idea. Like music ideas. What if each architect had their own instrument, like their own spirit instrument? So it's only the architect who has an all piano soundtrack. But then I need to compose for other instruments. Might be difficult. Another joke would be funny that the architect has some like very common name, like Mike, and just never corrected you when you referred to them as the architect. Definitely Jeff the architect. No, Jeff's a programmer. Hey, Ramar. Are you going to make a spaceship JRPG? Yeah, there could be something like that in here. I think that's what's nice about this. There's no real limit to what the games could manifest as. It's all about, like, are those going to be fun, and will they just help move the plot forward? God, this is just funny to me because of an old sketch where it was Final Fantasy characters playing Dungeons and Dragons, and there's this one guy who just keeps saying, like, I want to cast Magic Missile. That is stuck in my brain for the rest of my life. And I think it'd be hilarious. I wrote this down. Like, they want to cast Magic Missile, but it costs 3 mana, and they only have a max of 2. So you help them on a quest, and you expand their mana pool, but it only goes up to 2.5. During the end credits, you see them cast a single missile that fizzles. It's just so funny to me. There was another... So Super Mario RPG had this concept of you could buy very expensive items that did nothing. Fireworks. I think there was one purpose for them, but then in the end credits, based on how many fireworks you bought, I think it would play different fireworks in the game. So you get a mushroom if you bought 1 and a flower if you bought 3 or something. I'm just making things up. I don't remember how it works exactly, but that was the kind of Easter egg that people would write about, but that they're almost never going to discover on their own. So I want to be careful about Easter eggs that are too subtle, because I coded some of them into Skeleseller, and I like the idea of there being hidden things, but I don't like the idea of coding something that almost nobody sees. I think you have to kind of nudge people toward that stuff. Yeah. Hey, Alexis, I'm doing well. I think GS Volt. Sounds like a non-magic missile. No. That's the Geometry Wars part of things. There's no war in that section of the game. All right, what else do we have here? Incredibly fast character on land, and when jumping in the air, eventually hits water and moves at like 1 pixel per second. Yeah, this is just kind of a joke. But there are a lot of games out there that do momentum poorly. Like you're dashing and then you jump and you can't like dash jump. You can only like regular jump. And a lot of games do water very weirdly. Like it'll just slow your character down or something. So I think it'd be funny if it slowed you to a crawl. I don't know how it'll work on it. Just gives you a wooden sword. You change the chest sound effect to be more epic sounding. Gives you the end game sword. Yeah, I guess the question would be, how do you change the sound? So it'd need to be some kind of like sound design game. It would be funny to do a Myst knockoff where it's like just change a bunch of random levers and see what it does in the world. Hey, catch up. All right, farming or survival game. Maybe for survival games, you can poke fun at how repetitive they are with having to get copper, bronze, tin, gold. You know what? I think this is an interesting point. We can add satire in some places. Yeah. It's easy to manifest. Survival games having tons of item tiers that you have to work through. Yeah, and I think this is gonna be my main direction that we take here. So I'm gonna write this in like themes, humor. regarding satire, I think that for this to be a satire on games themselves, we would need to poke fun at genre norms or just genre tropes, which may be hard to do in 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. Fine, fix it. That's where we get Botland in here. Some of these, okay, so like let's say we did this, and let's say we did expose some like really basic, I don't know, some scripting interface where it's like if block.x is less than 5, you know, move block right. We do need some way for players to solve this, and if they can't, we need for them to be able to get unstuck. Because I don't want there to be some like incredibly complicated puzzle. In fact, some of the puzzle ideas that I had were going to be like, you know, those slider puzzles. I hated these in video games. But yeah, something like this. There's a this is the one. Something like this, where you have to just arrange the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. And all you could ever do is move one of the pieces adjacent to the blank space. So I can move this 14 up, or I can move this 11 left, and you eventually have to arrange them all. This appeared in so many games up to like 1995 because it's just an easy enough puzzle to code. It's also like the lights out puzzles. This showed up in a bunch of different games too, where there's not a great example of this, I guess. Maybe this one, where like you click a cell and it toggles the lights on all the adjacent cells, and the goal was to go from all on to all off, or vice versa. And like I kind of wanted to poke fun at these puzzles, and I think these are sort of lazy to do. Hey Tim, welcome in. Thanks for the raid. Hello, hello, hello. Hope you're doing well. We are working on our... Whoops, I just accidentally triggered a raid. God, I've seen so many people do that. I think they're just reading the word raid and go on autopilot. There we go, shout out. New game time indeed. Yeah, for anyone joining in, I'm working on a new game. The document that I've shared is one that's got the FAQ here. So if you want to know what the game's about, it's here. I'll leave this on screen for a second. And I'm designing it in another document that I'm not sharing. So yeah, you're catching day one of this. Button to vibe code the solution. Okay, that could be kind of funny. There's some redstone puzzles in front of doors. We ended up button mashing until the doors open. Yeah, as long as there's some way to like brute force the way through this, then I think it'd be okay for that particular puzzle. I think other puzzles we can eventually make it clearer what you're supposed to do or how. The sliding puzzle was fun. I definitely thought it was interesting to add compared to the rest of the gameplay. You liked it for that? Okay, yeah. I generally don't like it because part of the way I look at it is it's a puzzle that has an algorithm, and if you'd already encountered the puzzle before, then you know the algorithm and you can just do it. But learning the algorithm is not exactly fun. There was a game, I want to say it was Terranigma. I think I played a little bit of this. I don't fully remember. But it was like all different kinds of puzzles like that. Was it Terranigma? I'm not actually even sure. No. It was the Lufia game, whatever. Yeah, it was this one. Yes. This game had a ton of puzzles in it like this. Like you just encounter a room like this and the game wouldn't tell you anything. And you had to figure out what to do. I did not enjoy that. But I played it like way after it came out. Like 15 years or something, or 10 years. Work really well. Could be a mix of Binding of Isaac and Stardew Valley with puzzles. Yeah, I think there's just got to be a way to manifest this with some, like, in a small form in this game. Starting development. Finish my HTML and CSS course, learning Python. What do you recommend for me to start developing code serious or even get a job in this area? So King is a little bit difficult now because I think AI is really changing the landscape of things. But in terms of games, I think starting with something like this is pretty good. But in general, it's practice doing some stuff and see what you like, and then see where there's an opportunity in the market for it. Just pushed a demo. Just thought it was going to take 30 minutes. 4 hours later. Oh man, did you use Butler? Because I use Butler and it's pretty quick to automate. Let me write this down though, because I do want to try out your game. I got frustrated with it, yeah. Hey, Thals. Boatland. Can there be some premium microtransaction currency it gives you? Then it forces you to buy a special item before you can move on, but you have no way to actually buy the currency later. Yeah, I was thinking about something poking fun at microtransactions. I'll put this in here. I think it could, right, this could also be a way to skip games or puzzles that are too hard. Speedrunners can use this to break the game. Still learning functions in Python. Oh, I see. I see. Yeah. So I think it's just continue learning and see if you like it. But like I said, AI is kind of changing things quite a lot. Thought new game wasn't starting until June. Yeah, I just didn't know when I would eventually start this. It turns out it's much sooner than June. Yeah. Already have Butler in my deployment scripts. Windows zip messed up. Then you get an MP4 to play. It was challenging. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. If you submit a ticket, I think, well, maybe not a ticket, a bug report somewhere. But yeah, I know Leaf is pretty swamped. I mean, at least you got it in the end. I'm sorry about your experience. Tons of mobile games when you first install them in the tutorial, give you like 10 shards and they make you use those shards. Yeah. Yeah, I'm familiar with that pattern. And I like the idea of there being a persistent inventory somewhere. Have you decided on tech stack? Yeah, that's going to be Godot and C#. I try to keep everything in the FAQ. So if there's anything else that people keep asking, I'll try to add, but that one is there. Let's take a look. Farming or survival game for this. We can, yeah, this is kind of just a joke idea. Game that pokes on how repetitive they get. New game. Hey, Filler. And hey, Pickle. He's going to be pay to win? Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. You have to pay $40 to beat the game. Okay, let's see. 50 cents per bullet. Any worries about translating humor into other languages? I think there will be some of that. And then I think another way, like one of the kind of rules of accessibility is never have just one indicator for something. Like, let's say you have an error. You can color it red. That's totally fine. But you should also probably have the word error there. Like, imagine if you say error, thing couldn't load. So the red will help people see at a glance. But for those who are colorblind, the word error will help them see at a glance. So I think it's going to be the same kind of thing with humor in this game. Like, some humor won't translate, and that's okay. But most of it, ideally, there's something to reinforce it, or it's more the idea that's funny and not the words being used. So yeah. If they're colorblind and can't read, what then? Then you have an error sound. It goes bang. And then that's it. Nothing more than that. I always thought you had to pronounce it as a word, like back. I always say FAQ. At one point in the game, completing a tutorial should bring a second game into view that you control at the same time. Yeah, this is kind of a general mechanic thing, or maybe a specific mechanic thing, I guess. This should just go into the jokes section. How do you make the art? I do not make art myself, no. I've got a credits page here with all of the past games, art credits, and actually new game now can be renamed to Stuck in a Broken Tutorial. This, I can't actually say any of these people are direct contributors yet, or at least planned direct contributors. Coding hasn't even started at the time of writing this writing this section. How early do you think about monetization? Is it something you integrate in the design process, or do you primarily focus on making a great game first? The latter for sure. So the plan for this game is it's a one-time payment, and I don't know what it's going to cost. Cost will be based on the length slash fun, I guess. And what else? Yeah, and that's it. So if the game ends up being fun through the prototyping phase, then I'll make the game. And then, yeah, toward the end, we'll figure out which of this cost. Can I help? I've got time. I don't know. That's the short answer. I'll write it down. But yeah, I don't know. And the reason why I don't know is I don't know if this game will be fun and worth doing. I probably won't need help for at least another like month or month and a half because it's going to take a while to prototype and figure out like what works, what doesn't. I think just based on how people are responding in chat, it sounds like they like the idea. But liking an idea and liking the execution are two totally different things. So I like the idea too. I think this sounds fun. And a lot of it's going to come down to what are you doing in any given 10-minute section in the game? Because if that doesn't end up being fun, then this game is probably dead in the water. All right, this is a stupid idea. Let's write this here. Was it Yoshi's story that that said thank you to the player? How did that happen? I think the end credits had it. I mean, I don't see it through here. I could have sworn there was some Yoshi game. At the end of the game, Yoshi like turned to you and said, "And thank you," after the credits. I don't know. Thanks for the resub, Chef Alton. Happy 40 months. Fun to implement coding in the game like the farmer was replaced it. I think that would be pretty intense. I think also if that's just one sub game that people might find it pretty complicated. Should we take bets on to-do list? Like, please don't. What was the idea? Yeah, take a look at this. I don't really like puzzle games. I think puzzles will be one aspect of it. You know, there are a lot of games that I would say out there, like Legend of Zelda. Would you describe it as a puzzle game? Like, probably not. You'd probably say it's an adventure game with puzzle elements. Yeah, because puzzle, I don't think is like the primary focus of the game. So there are going to be a lot of different games in here, and they will have game mechanics. And like for the platformer game, there will be jumping and running and probably like shooting. And we'll probably flesh it out enough so that there are some like secret objectives you can get even in the 2 minutes before you eventually just break the game. And maybe those objectives come in handy in the future. I think 100%ing this game would be tough. In fact, actually, that's something that's going to be difficult to do is come up with achievements. Maybe we save the game in a bunch of different ways. I'll need to think about this. For any achievements we end up making, they may require a certain set of conditions to be true. E.g., like get all 5 hidden coins in the intro platformer. As a result, we may want to auto-save. No, that wouldn't make sense. I don't know what we do in that case. Yeah, I don't want to bother people here. How do story-based games do this normally, I wonder? Yeah, I need to figure out a way. I'll just put this in the question section. How do we make fun achievements that don't bother people? Imagine an achievement like get all 5 hidden coins in like game number 13. People wouldn't want to replay all the way back to 13 just to get that. Yeah. Would it be a dating sim game? I'm not sure. Alluding to the journalist failing. I think this was the inspiration for this game. Honestly, because in my head, this is kind of what I was picturing, but I don't fully remember because this was years ago that I came up with this. But yeah, that video, man, I feel kind of bad for the game journalist because they got a lot of flack for that. Something like UFO 50. I don't know. I haven't played UFO 50, but I think UFO 50 is, from my understanding, like 50 fully fleshed out games that you're just supposed to have fun playing the game. Like the games aren't jokes, but I'm not totally sure. Is it like Stanley Parable with a narrator? No, there's not going to be a narrator. At least I wasn't thinking of doing voice acting. I was debating, and this is another big question that I have, is if the game is text heavy, should we have an option for a local LLM to vocalize the whole game? Like models have gotten pretty small. We can embed something in the game that's like 2 megabytes per language probably, and then it just reads out all the captions for you. I think it would be interesting. I rate that. What does that mean? Is this new slang I don't know? Can you do 2 megabytes? Like, can you fit a small model in that amount of time? 8 gigabytes is the smallest? No. There are definitely small vocalization models. There was something like, there's some tiny text to speech LLM model. I mean, maybe saying it's an LLM model is incorrect, but I found something and it was like, it's tiny enough to run on, yeah, like, okay, this 20 megabytes. Yeah, there, maybe 2 megabytes is too tiny, but it doesn't need to be gigabytes or anything. But this is just for English, so maybe we'd have to like download them on the fly or something like that. I'm not totally sure. What's this one? .4 megabytes. Yeah, so there are some tiny ones that we could get. Can you post a link? Oh yeah, I think I just, yeah, let me just post a link to this. I'm just Googling this, so I don't know of any particular one. I did try one a while ago, and Abby was in the room, and I said, Abby is the bestest cat. Or, no, I said this. And it said it like this. It said, Abby is the bestie cat. And I thought that was funny enough. My wife and I have now been saying this since that day that AI just hallucinated how this should be pronounced. So I remember trying something like, yeah, a year ago, and it was decent. I mean, yeah, that sort of mistake is not great, but this would just be sort of an accessibility thing that keeps people's attention. That's a good idea. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna write that down because I do like the idea. And if people can opt into it, it shouldn't be so bad. It may be nice to have the option to vocalize the text in the game with a local LLM. I think people with short attention spans will otherwise like reflexively skip through almost all of the text. Just want to say, I love how you work and chat through your process. You even find it soothing, so I have it on while I'm working. Nice. Yeah, thank you. Hope to be able to do it as well as you. Oh, are you streaming too? Because yeah, I think I have a lot of videos or references now that I could link to you about my streaming advice. Hey, Ramy. And hey, everyone. I run an LLM model on my ATM. Did I say LLM model? I might have. All right. It needs to be more recurring characters than just you and the game designer. That way the game feels more connected. This goes into questions, not ideas. So yeah, what other... Oh, I already have that there. I can write this here. It needs to be more than just you and the architect. That way the game feels more connected. These other characters can even have story arcs or manifest in certain ways. Yeah. It's frowned upon unless it's a clearly robotic sound, I suppose. Yeah, I think this is where I don't want to avoid using AI because of things being frowned upon. I want to just disclose that I use it, and then people can make a decision ahead of time. Because Skeleseller, this is kind of funny. Skeleseller has, I think, 13 negative reviews. 2 are about AI. And these people, I think, only found out about it because I disclosed it. And then they got mad at me. And I actually left a comment on one of the latest ones saying, like, I didn't even have to write a disclosure. I could have just lied about it, right? And, like, no one would have known. It's not, the game is high quality. I don't think people could probably tell the difference between a joke that I wrote and a joke that AI wrote. Probably they're interpreting some of my humor as being written by AI because the nonsensical nature is part of what I find funny, but that's also how AI might have written something. So I think if you ask people to point out like, okay, where in Skeleseller do you see AI? I don't think anyone would do it correctly unless they've like watched the VODs. So yeah, I think for the next game, it's like, I'm not going to avoid AI. People who hate AI are going to just leave negative reviews anyway. And I will make sure it's there in the Steam page from the beginning and disclose it. And if people don't like that, then hopefully they just don't buy the game. I think it'd be crazy to buy the game after seeing that and then get mad at it. But there are people who have bought the game and who I actually, okay, I'm not going to not go on a super long rant about this, but someone here had just posted a question saying, what's the replayability or in-game progression? Based on what I read, it seems like it's a short game. This is a fine question to ask, but a lot of people end up just not reading where I just literally call out like, this is finite gameplay. There is no, I put it as a marketing point on here. Here's how long you can expect to play it for. And I've had so many people complain that like, oh my God, the story mode is only, 4 hours. Like, yeah, it's there on the page. So I think people probably still will buy whatever game and then not read things and then get mad and then leave negative reviews. Hey, Stigala, welcome in. And hey, Raymond. And hey, Somalia. Why are people so cringe about AI? I consider not disclosing it just to not deal with haters who think AI tag is invitation for hate reviews and personal insults. Yeah, sorry. I guess I prompted this conversation. But I think, in short, it's that people have different stances on things, and there is no gray area for some people. Because like I said, Skeleseller, if I had to say what percent Skeleseller is AI, it's probably like, I would guess 2% at most. And like I said, I don't think people could point out what was actually made with AI. And it's like relatively bug free. The one major bug we encountered was actually due to Godot and NVIDIA drivers. And I don't control those things. So like, I made a workaround for it, but yeah, I don't control those things. If Skeleseller were like 50% AI, you'd probably find a ton of bugs. It'd probably like crash more often. You'd probably see signs of it being AI. And yeah, people still took exception to that. And that's with the disclosure. So I just, yeah. Your reviews are stellar. Yeah, thank you. To be honest, I don't read that on the page. Yeah, but it's weird to, I don't know. Like the way I look at this is, let's say you go to Amazon and you buy a screwdriver and you get it and it's a flathead screwdriver and you leave a negative review saying like, this isn't the shape I needed. Like, isn't that not a review you should leave? Shouldn't you have just done the research yourself and be like, whoops, I bought the wrong thing? That's the part I don't understand. Like, you cannot read and then buy something, but then I don't think you can be mad at the person who like disclosed this ahead of time that this is what you should expect. Didn't know you had links on how to approve. Yeah, I've got, let's see, Adam Learns Dev Stream. I think, where is it? Stream? Yeah, this one. I think this is probably the most like up-to-date thing that I've done, but I think it links to a blog post that I wrote. No, it doesn't. I don't know where that is. Blog.bot.land, maybe. Streaming. Being a development streamer on Twitch. Yeah, this one was written a long time ago, though. Did you do a Scala lessons learned? Yeah, I did. And that is here. Lost on shipping, delivery service dented it, stubbed my toe yesterday after picking up this item. Yeah, there are some shipping concerns that I think could be valid. The lost on shipping is probably not one, but something like this was packaged poorly or something. So I think people might see those and then not be able to draw the line between what is a concern that should be here on the seller or not. But I think the bigger problem is, I think there's a whole category of people out there who think Amazon is making every single product that's on Amazon. And then they get these emails that say something like, how long was the cord for the thing you bought? And they say something like, I didn't measure it. And then this appears on Amazon and then it's like, this doesn't help anybody. So I think there's just some confused buyers out there too. Yeah, it kind of sucks as a creator sometimes because You don't necessarily know what category someone's in. That was a screwdriver, no image of the screwdriver. I might miss it. Yeah. I get what you're saying. I think it all comes down to what level of research should you do as a consumer, and what level of like advisory should the person producing something make. Because imagine if before you watched every YouTube video, the intro is like 5 minutes longer than it is, saying, here's what I'm going to talk about, just so you know, here's what the video is not about. Here are any like trigger warnings about the video or something. Here's I'm not going to dive into that topic because that's controversial. Like, you'd never watch a video because you'd be like, this is so pointless. Like, so then people just kind of, yeah, you have to be succinct in what you end up sharing. Would it be done in Godot? Yeah. Please do take a look at the today command. I made the FAQ very short. I do want people to actually read it. Rhythm game? No, this is an algorithm game. Now implement bubble sort. This is a very silly idea. The repo isn't public? No, it's public. It is right there. Soon people look at the title, images, videos. That's about it. I think it's the majority of gamers. Yeah, no, I get it. I'm complaining that this is the state of the world. That's it. That's my complaint. It's not like I'm going to change things or anything, but you're not going to put in your trailer like, hey, here's how long the game is, just so you know. Like, yeah, people aren't going to see that, and it just sucks, and that's all. Horror section of the creepy music, but the scary things are literal text snippets like loneliness, spiders, something supernatural. These are some good jokes. Thanks, Miff. They could have AI pull the game description into its context and then ask it, is this feedback already addressed? Maybe Steam could even do this. Yeah, I've seen more and more summaries of things. Like on Amazon and Google reviews, I think they have an AI summary of like, here's what people think. So when I search for a restaurant, they'll say something like, people really like the food, but the service wasn't great and the prices are high, or something like that. And now I don't need to read through 50 reviews to get that summary. So I do think that helps. I do wonder if Steam will do something like that too, but maybe it doesn't work as well with game reviews because it could have, well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe they can try it. You could do nothing wrong. So those, yeah, I get it from that point of view. Sorry, yeah, it sounds like you were more trying to justify why this happens, and like I get why it happens. Bomberman tutorial where you have to save the NPCs from trying to blow themselves up. I got to be a little bit careful about the like self-inflicted violence aspect of the game, because one of the things I was originally thinking about is if you're in a broken tutorial and you're trying to escape it, wouldn't like damaging yourself be the best way to end that game? And in a lot of games, you hit a game over screen and it says, you know, retry or go to title screen. But I didn't like the theme of that being the case. So I just want to be careful about that. I think there are ways that we can do this without it resulting in like harm or death. And I know it's, by the way, this is going to be like an E-rated game. Imagine like Bomberman was probably E-rated, right? Bomberman 64 rating. What was that thing called? ESRB rating? E, yeah, it's rated E. So like, here's a game about throwing literal bombs and they're exploding, but it's done cartoonishly and that's still fine, and it's rated a game for everyone. And I don't think many people would take exception of what's happening in this game. It's not like there's anything super questionable here. But yeah, I want to be careful about how that manifests itself. Can you take damage and die in this game? There'll probably be some games where you can take damage and die. But I think there's a difference between being able to take damage and die and having to take damage and die that changes the tone a little bit. Yeah. Seems like a success, right? For example, another streamer released it called Tangy TD. Yeah, I think it was a success. I don't think necessarily concurrent players are the metric people should be focusing on. Also, I'd be surprised if it only ever peaked at 300, because he had a lot of coverage. Yeah, all-time peak was 1200. Yeah. And I mean, if you look at players right now, it's like still a steady several hundred people playing. So, yeah. New editor is on the horizon. Interesting. If you're immortal, you can have a health bar in the HUD, act like a slider, and anytime you're low on health, you can just drag it back to full. Wonder if people would even try that. So here's another thing that I was wondering about. If this is going to be a controller-based game, think of how you discover this. Like, you either need a virtual cursor like what I'm doing, and then you have a health bar, and you need to be able to like drag this to be full. Or you have like a cursor that can only point to interactable elements. So like if I have a cursor, I press right, I press right, I press right, I press right, I press down, and now it like puts the focus here. You'd be like, oh, I guess I can do something with the life bar. So you need to sort of mask what the mechanic might be if it's supposed to be a puzzle so that you give them a virtual cursor, and then it might become a little bit tedious to have to click this sort of thing. So that's where we still need to figure out gameplay at some point. And I'm kind of just talking about some general joke ideas and story ideas. And that's why, like I said, this is going to be a kind of meandering week where we just kind of bounce all over the place. Hey, Ezra, going pixel art for the new one as well, and don't like making it yourself. I'd love to do the art for you. Been looking for releasing an asset pack with a specific direction and been asking around to see if anyone would like free pixel art assets. Yeah, I'll write that down. Sounds interesting. Yeah, my plan was pretty much to buy a bunch of asset packs for this. So I guess it could be the first like use of the asset pack could be this game. Oh, actually, probably not. Probably, well, I might be the first to use it, but then you'd probably release it, and then someone else might release a game sooner for a game jam that then uses it before mine does. Anyway. You need spoof splash screens for each minigame, like the Unreal one or Unity loading screen. Yeah, I like the idea of having a game name for all these things. So it's not just like platformer. I might refer to it myself like that, but we actually call it something that someone might name a platformer, like Super Jumpy O Brothers or something. I don't know. And instead of, you know, farming sim, we call it, I think I had like Moonlight Mountain or I think it'd be cool to do that. I don't want to increase the art burden by a massive amount. Like imagine drawing 15 title screens. It's probably a lot of work. Yeah, sounds good, Ezra. I'll write this stuff down. I'm not promising anything for now. I still don't know if we're even making this game. But yeah. All the sprites are replaced with Adam art like sprites. I wonder if people would abide that. If they'd be like, this is too much. I like the graphics and the rest, but not here. Could I have a game that starts with a trailer for a much better game? Thousands of builds, 500 characters, dialogue so good you'll wet yourself. Then you enter the game. It says to choose one of two builds. Whichever you pick says build no work. Sorry. These are very silly ideas. I don't want anyone to think that I thought this was like a masterpiece or something. I just wrote down a bunch of random jokes. 2D FPS, it's just a black screen with dialogue and gunshot sounds. The architect then says, I guess you can't really see in 2D. Yeah, I'll keep this down here too. An RPG where your character is maddened by the repetitive NPC dialogue. This is kind of already done, but I do think the idea of a game that is terrible that the solution is to just like quit the game and not come back, I think it's kind of funny. A game that's so bad or confusing that the solution is to quit that game and never come back to it. This would be tough to communicate to the player, especially since they would probably try a bunch of things first. Can I throw ideas around too? Yeah, sure. Yeah. A slow loading tutorial where the textures of the level takes a long time to start going. Oh man, what if you have to, what would be kind of interesting there is if you had to do something before all the textures load, like there's a door texture. Maybe there's a door that you have to make it past, but the only task is to do so before it loads in. But at first you don't know that's the task. So then enemies load in and defeat you, and you have a chance to repeat it. I like that. I like that a lot. I think that's pretty good. So invert controls I had as an idea, but I want to be careful about this. Do I have a controller on my desk? No. Okay, well, anyway, yeah, imagine you're holding a controller and the game tells you, okay, turn your controller upside down now. And then play with the button. Well, I guess this wouldn't really work, would it? Anyway, there, yeah, I don't know. It's an idea that I think would be kind of tough. The other thing is that there are a lot of games that reverse controls as kind of like a debuff on the player. And I think it can be done well. In fact, I think one of the best implementations of this was in Smash Bros. I forgot who does this. I think it's one of those assist trophies. But anyway, mirroring controls in a like party game fighter, totally fitting. I think that's good. Mirroring controls in a single player game where it's like, oh, I gotta like swap left and right for a little bit. I don't find as fun. Have you heard of Evil Land? I've heard of Evil Land. I played it as well, but I don't remember much about it. I had to have infuriating escort mission where the move speed and the NPC's move speed never syncs correctly. I think it'd be funny like the NPC can be a literal snail. And if you try to match their speed, they get angry with you and sprint away. So you have to walk out of it. Yes, yeah. Xyletics, I'm glad you made the connection yourself. Because yes, this is what I was talking about the other day. Let's see. Did I miss something else? Tutorial, the player must go back to the game files and delete an NPC asset to stop an endless stream of nonsense. I like the idea. I think, and mechanically, and this is why I'm glad I actually made the Skeleton for the Steam Deck too. Mechanically, that'd be very hard to do. Like, there have been games in the past that try to simulate crashes, but without literally crashing your game or stopping the game, you have to just kind of act like you know what the home screen might be. And depending on the platform, it might not be convincing enough. Like, I think there was a game on the PlayStation, maybe it was Metal Gear. Was it Metal Gear? Or no, Silent Hill? I think it was Silent Hill that did this, where it tried to look like the TV standby screen. And I don't know how they did this or how well they did this, but it's a really cool idea. I don't think you can do that nowadays. I think there are too many devices and platforms. And so like having a player go into the file system to delete something, I think would be very funny, but it would also make the game sort of inaccessible. Now, with that said, we could put it down as an idea, as like a joke. Maybe there's a file on disk that you can delete for the sake of an Easter egg, and the game can hint at it. I wouldn't want this to be a mechanic, a required mechanic, because some platforms make it difficult or impossible to delete stuff from the game files. Caption show blank audio. It started today. Yeah, so something's definitely wrong with this. Let me just try changing the model really fast and see if that does anything. Because I have a bunch of... You can't see this. Never mind. Okay. Well, I have a bunch of settings over here. I can change it from tiny English to... small English. I don't know if that'll help. It's loading now. Downloading model. Is it working? Test, test, test. Okay, it looks like it's working now. I think I had to say something else for it to publish the prior line. Yeah, check out the today command. It's still kind of laggy. Yeah. Okay, sorry, where did I leave off in chat? Top 10 RPG that's released chapter by chapter. Actual story, I don't know, but the idea is that every month or so you release a new chapter, driving people back into the game. Wait, are we talking about like full game ideas, or are we talking about like sub game ideas in Stuck in a Broken Tutorial? Because this sounds like a full game idea, right? Could reverse the trope of escort targets always too slow, where now they're so fast the player can't keep up. Yeah, that was the thing about the snail moving fast. I think it'd be funny. Game where you and your friend explore Mars together. Every month you're given a point A and point B. Then at the top of every week, a sprint starts. Okay, yeah. These sound like they might be full game ideas. So to be clear, I do have a game idea, and what we're looking for, well, not necessarily, but is like sub game ideas or sort of jokes or ways you can kind of bend genre tropes. Maze super hard, but architect forgot to invoke collisions. I'll write this down too. There's another thing I want to eventually avoid, which is having the same sort of like joke play out. So the very first platformer, you're going to fall through the world, which is a case of collision not implemented. I want there to be a lot of funny ways for you to break the game. And I don't want it to always manifest as like, oh, hey, we've got like a button you have to drag from here to here, or you've got a collision missing. Yeah. A horror game that requires you to read README files and delete them from your actual file system. Streamers hated it as they could leak info. Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, in fact, you know what? Let me just delete this from here. I don't think it's probably worth pursuing. Have to set up a totally different scene, another complication. But what if the inventory screen is literally a first-person view of yourself holding a piece of paper or backpack? And if there's an NPC nearby, they might just walk up, kneel down, and stare into your eyes as you stare into your bag. I do think that's funny. But yes, you're right. I think that is a lot of implementation. Why do you go for such a niche thing again? I don't think this is necessarily niche. I mean, we'll have to see. But yeah, I want to make games that I want to make. That's the end result of this stuff. So I think games for me are a creative outlet. They're fun to make and they're fun to see people enjoy after having made them, or at least some of them. Like you can have a demo and watch people have fun. So yeah, I want to pursue these games for that reason. Like Skeleseller was along the same lines. I made a game that I wanted to make, and it is very different from what a lot of people expected, but they still had fun. I think if I do the same thing again, that people will still have fun. Watching the postmortem, I think I missed it. Oh yeah. Sorry, yeah. That I don't know if you saw the today command, but it's got the overview for what this game is. So yeah, for those who didn't hear, I'm gonna just kind of share this again really quickly. So if you are just tuning in, definitely pay attention to this. So this game is gonna be, the working title is Stuck in a Broken Tutorial. You start the game and you are in this platformer game where you're jumping around and there's maybe some small objectives. And then you get to the point where the tutorial tries to teach you that, oh, hey, you need to hold the jump button to jump for a longer distance. So you try that, but the game literally will not allow you to jump that distance, and you fall all the way down through the world, like past the terrain into this like dark, scary territory, and you encounter the architect. And the architect just says you're not supposed to be here and teleports you into another game tutorial that the architect created that is also broken in some way. And it might be a farming simulator. So now you're in this farming simulator trying to figure out like, how did I get here? What is going on? What is my life? Like, who are these people I'm talking to? Are they also stuck in this game? So that's a general kind of flow. It's going to have a lot of comedy elements. I do need to think about the characters of this stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I have the why Google Docs. Yeah. Totally linked in it. Okay, good. Do you have a racing game idea? If not, you need a joke where the player is in a race car, told the accelerator, and then when the lights go out, the car shoots backwards. So I don't necessarily have a racing game idea, but I think it'd be funny. I kind of have an idea about this already, but like a farming simulator where you are the farm. I think it'd be interesting to have a racing game where you are the car and that racing means something different to you in that context. It'd be like, I don't know. But yeah, I'll write this down as like to think of an idea. I think a racing game could be interesting. I'm not totally sure how it would manifest. Like one of the games I think about is Super Mario Kart, the Super Nintendo version of Mario Kart. And how could we take a game like this and break your expectations? What if everyone else is racing on foot and you have a car? Okay, that's the sort of thing I think that could be pretty funny. Maybe it's a foot race, but you get a motorcycle and easily beat everybody. I don't know. Uh, which tool is this to paint? That's Shotter. I'll link it in the chat. Is it comparable to Stanley Parable? I only played like 5 minutes of Stanley Parable, so I'm not totally sure. It makes the bars fill up. The values don't represent the actual value. Like half a bar should be the goal. But it shoots out of the stadium. I'm not sure I totally understand. Like there'd be a gauge for how far you can shoot, and it doesn't accurately represent how far you end up shooting. NPCs preventing you from leaving in some way. Well, okay, so I like the general idea, but the NPCs are intentionally like not self-aware. But there are agents in the game like yourself and also Sidekick, who I haven't named yet. It might actually just be named Sidekick. These people are self-aware. And in fact, one of the mechanics I thought of is it'd be cool if the Sidekick you meet is like, oh my God, like you have agency too. And they say, can you ask me some questions? And then they get to pick their answers from the dialogue box. It's scripted, so like they'll pick the answer that explains things to you or conceals some information. But that way you're like, oh, I guess it's not just me. I mean, that's somewhat dark take on this, but yeah. Are you ever worried you might be too smart for your audience for this? I think how I'm planning this might make it sound like this is more complicated than how we'll end up being. I like thinking about this stuff and how it's going to connect and come together. Will the end be that it was all a dream you wake up from? No. That's not going to be a dream ending. Game is basically a bunch of mini games. Yeah. I see. If you have a stupid bit where you have to go find out, you have to go out and find the assets to monsters to be able to fight them, like finding the text or font for dialogues or subtitles. I'll write this down. I think this is the kind of thing that can spark an idea, even if it's not necessarily an immediately usable idea. Oops. Drags a window and pops up to draw. Yeah, that's Shotter. I think about implementing all these games or just one or two. Yeah, probably all of them. I think it's going to be a lot of work. I expect this game is going to take somewhere on the order of like 12 to 24 months, something like that, at least a year. Unknown. I do think having a Jump Royale reference could be kind of interesting. And there are different ways we can do this. Like, not every game has to be an outright joke, but yeah, imagine there are platforms in this world, and like in Jump Royale, you're jumping by picking an angle, and it then jumps in that direction. And you're doing this for a long time, and there's like no real purpose to it. I kind of think that'd be neat. I don't know where it would go exactly. A Jump Royale like game, maybe even with NPCs that jump. And you keep working your way upward and upward, but there's no real end. You instead have to take out a pickaxe and carve the platform from beneath you to build something. Maybe a jetpack. Yeah. Very dad joke adjacent. Have to get increasingly ridiculous quest NPCs. Yeah, we might be able to do something like that. I think this is going to eventually work its way into, we have like X games and there are equivalence classes of subverted expectations. So as mentioned, it could be like a wall lacking collision, or a solution that you brute force your way through, or yeah, all these other things that we might come up with here. And I wouldn't want to do the same things multiple times, and I want the games to still be fun. So yeah, I still have to think about that stuff. Why don't you focus on a single game instead of many ones? Well, right now, honestly, what I want to do is I want to just file these ideas and then get to the point where I can focus on the story. And I'm just, like I said, we're all over the place. So it's turning into this, but I want to steer back toward the story side of things. Someone commented on your news post about the refund that they didn't get refunded. It should be, maybe they didn't pay full price. That's possibly what happened. Let me respond to that quickly. Did you pay full price for the game? I don't remember the original currency values, but in USD it was $10 originally. If your playtime is, or yeah, so if you paid that amount, then this refund should apply. If you didn't, then your playtime would need to be under 2 hours. I don't have insight into the refund process more than that, because this is something that Valve set up for this scenario to accommodate people upset by the price decrease. Okay, yeah, thanks for pointing that out. The target length per game, probably about 10 to 15 minutes, yeah. That'd be a riddle-like game as well. It all depends. So, okay, let me steer back into this. I want to file the rest of these issues, and then I want to focus on the story. Are Steam refunding the difference? They're refunding the entirety of the game. Which, yeah, because some people were upset about me lowering the price, and then they paid the higher price. And I don't want people to be upset. I just wanted them to enjoy the game. So even if they bought it and they had fun and then they refunded it, that's fine with me. So, all right, let's just harvest this for the story ideas. What do we have? Yeah, this is something we got to do in the questions section, I think. Let's take a look at other things that we have. Actually, I should do this. Card game. You as a player figure out. Handle the problem of people not buying the game so they see someone playing through the whole thing. Yeah, someone just joined Discord about Skeletor and pointed to a tutorial bush and that idea of there being just a shrub in the game that's like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to play. I just love that concept. And there's not more of a joke yet to it, so I need to think about that, but I like the idea. A randomized USL mechanic. What else do we have? Okay, so here's a story thing. Do you have anything else? This game has fun elements. Architect starts combining those. A load-bearing tutorial. Breaking it crashes the game. Okay, so I think we just have these as story ideas. Whoops. This is starting to materialize in my mind, but I need to consolidate these things. Your objective is to mess up the player that has to hurt you. I like the idea of someone else being in the tutorial. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I like the idea that you're in someone else's tutorial and you have to mess them up. Upon reloading, they realize their mistake. Anything that forces you to quit the game is a little bit tough because on some platforms, I think they would consider that to be a problem. Undertale has an intentional like crash at the end of the game. And I don't know how this works on Nintendo Switch because I vaguely recall hearing there was some controversy around that, and Nintendo didn't want people thinking there was something bad or wrong with the game. But okay, anyway. So I want to look at some of the story stuff that we have because there were a lot of ideas. We still need to file these. Yeah, I can just put this up here. I also want this to be in like the regular bullet point style. There we go. Okay, so we got a couple of players. I think the overarching story, we have some ideas here. Let me write this down. Actually, where should I write it down? Maybe we write it as like story beats. I'm not sure. I don't want to, I kind of want to outline the overarching plot points. So like start of game, you enter the platforming game. You fall through the world and see the architect. He sends you to the next game. The intent of a lot of this is set up the foundation of the game, add some intrigue, show that this isn't a normal kind of game. 1 to 60 board challenge. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I want to focus on the story stuff for a bit and not necessarily mechanical stuff. I've got 3 players kind of figured out. Like there's you, of course, and you're playing as one person throughout the whole game. We could make it so you play as multiple characters. I don't think that's worthwhile because you are essentially multiple characters anyway, because you'll be in different games. You control only this, or you control this character. Because the game takes you through many worlds, it'll be almost as though you're controlling multiple characters, but they all have the same identity. The person running a show, just a person who creates something, but yeah, not like a home architect. They're making games. Maybe you make characters that help you complete the final game. Yeah, I want to figure out how many characters the game could kind of sustain, especially if they're going to be in different games. Like there could be several different kind of sidekicks. What game engine? Take a look at this. It's the FAQ that we've got here. Okay, so yeah, let me start in the scratch section over here. So I want to talk about like characters. So I planned at least 3 characters. Player, sidekick, and the architect. I think it would help to have more than just 3. I think it would add interest. So functionally, we need the player and the architect. Any NPCs you meet have no real personality. It's the agents that you meet which have some amount of decision making behind them. But they're stuck in games too. So maybe there are several different sidekicks and you encounter some like 0 to X of those, some number of them in each game. Sometimes none, sometimes several. I think if they don't have interactions with each other, is it still interesting? Would each different characters interact or play differently in the side games? Well, so I'm not totally sure. What I'm trying to think about is if, let's say this were a book if this game were a book instead, what would be intriguing about it? And if you just have the player, a sidekick, and the architect, you can still make a book with a few characters. In fact, some books pretty much only have like one character. And it doesn't mean that it's a bad book. I wonder from a real life player's perspective, what would they find the most interesting? And to be honest, I actually kind of think that we steer toward just having 3 characters. Like, I don't want to just add more for the sake of adding more. Make sure we're not adding more characters just for the sake of having them. There will be NPCs, but they won't be interesting. Yeah, so like how many more agents do we need, and how many other characters do we need? And here's my conclusion, at least. I think this is the wrong way to approach this. I think we should add things once a need has been identified. Like, we have what we need for now, and if other plot points come up which demand more characters, then we can plan some. Yeah. Wondering there can only be a max of 3? Yeah, it's only 3. Word architect might be misunderstood by non-native speakers. It's possible. The way I always look at this is, what level of confusion would it cause? Like, let's say your main character was called the hero of the story, but we used a word that was something like, I don't know, adventurer. It doesn't really change anything. You'd still be like, oh, I'm playing this character. Here's my task. Here's what I have to do. So if someone heard architect and they're like, oh, they build homes, you might be a little bit confused, but you'd still be like, oh, but that's the character who is causing me to be in these games. Like, I think it still makes sense. And that if it didn't make sense, it probably wouldn't like super pull people out of it. Is the idea to meet all different cliches or archetypes from different genres, both the NPCs and sidekicks? So not necessarily, and that's this conclusion that I have here, is that I think if we did want a bunch of different character archetypes, we would need to plan them. You know, there could be like a very smart person or a bumbling oaf for comic relief, and I don't know that we need that. I think just the game needs to be interesting, and I think part of where there might be a need is if we need to examine the impact of games on many different characters. As a more concrete example, imagine that there's an agent that isn't necessarily smart enough to break the tutorials themselves, so they're totally stuck and despairing. You could free them, but it would show you that this isn't exactly a game for those people. It's their lives, and it's not going well. Something like that. Architect to me is associated with the Matrix. Yeah, that's part of what I was thinking about. I originally, I think, called him the orchestrator or something, and then I realized, like, nah, it's not really as good as that they're creating these things. And I think if we wanted to be much more direct, we could just call them like the designer or the game designer or something. But I don't necessarily want the player to realize that the games within the games are an established construct. I want the immersion to be that it's presented like they're tutorials. And yeah, something's going wrong and you're ending up in different games, but the game doesn't acknowledge that they're games. It would be almost like if a movie said Act 1 and then Act 2 and Act 3. It's like, this is a very common way of looking at how you playwright, but you wouldn't always call it out. And some movies do this, or they don't usually say Act 1. They'll just say like the tale of the whatever, and then here's what happened next. And so yeah, I think we got to be careful about how explicit we're being about some of this stuff. Hey, Sinistel. Paying a tax for being too sleepy. It's a hefty tax. Thing with having to rely on translation, jokes, misunderstandings require multiple, if not most languages, to have the same association or misunderstanding of the word. Yeah. I kind of commented on this earlier. There will be some probably language-based jokes that don't translate all that well, and that's okay. Like one of the things in Skeleseller is we had bone mode, and bone stood for business optimization via new expansions. That didn't work in every other language, so we needed to be a little bit creative with it. It wasn't necessarily a joke, and it was, I guess, easier to shoehorn in other meanings. But this is one of the things I think about with comedy in general. There are a lot of different styles of comedy, and there are a lot of different kind of categories of comedy. So as an example, something like slapstick humor, puns, madcap humor, referential humor, vulgarity can be funny in some way. Like you have all these categories. Some people are going to hate one of these categories, like slapstick humor. Oh, someone got hit in the face with a pie. It's like, that's just not going to be funny to some people. Some people are going to find it hilarious. So I kind of look at this as like translation or wordplay jokes. Like some people might not like these to begin with, and some people might not understand the language well enough to be able to appreciate them. And it's okay. It's just like if we had some madcap humor in there that people don't appreciate, it's like, well, some of the jokes aren't going to land for everybody. And I think the problem is when it doesn't land for the majority of people. So in Skeleseller, I wrote a lot of little jokes in there, and I took a clip. Let me share this clip. Twitch my clips. Okay, so this one struck me as I was streaming. Where's the... Here it is. How do I share this? Okay. I hope this works. Let me see if I can paste this in. Yeah, I'm not going to show this on my stream, but Yagamoth really liked this joke in Skeleseller. And most other people did not laugh at the joke. But yeah, it was one of those cases where it's like, okay, it was worth doing. Yeah. Definitely Leap Year Girl. Yeah. Finish your lessons learned. There's a lot in there that'll be relevant to many indie game developers. Yeah, I hope it can help people. What's funny is I posted on Reddit about it. I made a post. I don't know if I was streaming at the time. Where's my profile? And it just immediately got downvoted to 0. So no one ever commented. I mean, there are some views because I think people still sort through new or something, but like, yeah, no one ever really saw it. And I'm like, all right, that's it. I tried. I think people probably look at it like it's latent marketing. Honestly, did not mean for it to be that way. I spent a lot of time making that video, planning it, recording it, like editing it. And yeah, now fewer people will see it. That's okay. Hey, Lack, thank you. Welcome back. I watched the video. Yeah, thank you. I by the way, I like the video. I think it's good. I kind of think it's funny that I just always kind of commented on the way that Reddit works is sometimes a little bit silly. Like if I'd asked any one of you, hey, could you post this video in the game dev subreddit? You could do that, and then it wouldn't be your content. So people look at it a little bit differently. And if you introduce it as like, oh, hey, here's a streamer I watch or something. But if I make that video, people will be like, this guy's trying to market. But it's like, I could, if I were trying to market, I could have just done it through someone else's account, basically. It's one of those cases where I just feel like I know what I could do to make these things more successful, but I sort of disagree with the way I'd have to go about it. So in that case, I'd have to be a little bit subversive to do it. And I don't want to do that. So it's kind of funny. Like I could predict the result happened. I know how I could have worked around it. I didn't do that. Oh no, you're not coming across as negative. I don't even know what could be interpreted as negative. They need memes and lack of seriousness to find a video interesting. Well, that's the game dev subreddit. That one actually does have a lot of like that sort of content there, where it's like, here are all the lessons I learned. A lot of times it's text, but even then, a lot of those posts are really just like a, hey, I just made this game and I want to market it. I did not do that. This is like this took me many, many hours to make that video. If I wanted to just have a throwaway marketing post, I would have just, written a couple of those out. Okay, so yeah, I don't think we necessarily need more characters. I do think examining how this impacts other agents could be interesting. So I do like that idea. So I'll write this down as a like throwaway agent. This would be a character just to sort of raise the stakes a bit. They're aware that they're in a game, but they haven't figured out how to break out. And they're going crazy talking to NPCs, saying the same things every day, you rescue them on your way out, and then your paths probably just don't cross again. Like, this is a need for a character. I think this is kind of interesting. It's not just something I'm making for the sake of, well, we need a fifth character or something like that. It's like, we need to analyze the lens through which some agents are not ever making it out of these games. And I actually kind of think this has some like implication on the real world, the actual real world. Like identity and persistence, control and agency. If we analyze how an agent could get stuck in a game, it could make the actual player of this game look at NPCs in other games through an interesting lens. In fact, you know what? Maybe that's how they become an NPC. Maybe they're losing their agency. That'd be kind of interesting. Maybe, yeah, I like this. On your way out, later you cross paths with them and their agency is gone. They've struggled so much that they become an NPC. This is super cool. I love this idea. Yeah, this is maybe a little bit too deep for this style of game, but yeah, very neat. I don't like the my friend, I know someone who tingles of promotion. Yeah, yeah, but it's at least not self-promotion. Because if you think about it, almost any content that's shared on social media is promotion of somebody. And you don't necessarily know the motivation behind it. Like, even if you, well, I guess it depends on what you're promoting. Like, it could be a cat picture, in which case no one's really profiting. But like, if you're sharing any link to a game, like, oh man, did you see this new game coming out on the Switch? It's like, the person is promoting that thing. So you leave a level, the agent says, tell my wife I love her as you leave. Probably not. That would imply that you know that person or are going to see their wife. Oh, there'd be like doors where they think they can go through to escape, but each door turns out to be closed or lead to another tutorial. Could be. I mean, this is kind of how the game opens, is you think the floor is the floor, but the game is broken and you fall through it. So I want to be careful about like the things are not what they seem manifesting the same way every time. So not just like, oh, well, there's a door on the... Did it ever run another ad break? What happened? Did I just talk through it? I never saw one run. I don't even know where... Okay, well, I need to take a break pretty soon because I need to use the bathroom. Keeps giving me the wrong hints for each new game. Well, so I'm thinking this sidekick... who I just named sidekick, is like friendly to you, is generally pretty smart, but has been stuck in a game for a little while. Whereas you, as the main player, are making it through these worlds. You're like some kind of genius when it comes to breaking tutorials. To other characters, you would seem like a genius for breaking tutorials so quickly. Well, to other agents. Well, no, just characters, yeah. Terms, so NPCs, these are dull, like typical NPCs that have a couple of pre-scripted lines. They cannot think for themselves. Agents, these are characters. These are video game characters with free will. You play as an agent and encounter other agents. Agents who cannot solve or cannot break out of their games eventually go crazy and become NPCs. They lose their free will. Yeah. And then there are architects. These are video game creators who live in the real world. You are part architect without realizing it. Yeah. Hey, Grog. End game of the game is the architects has fixed all the tutorials. You can play through them all, reusing assets to gold mine. It's not that they fixed them. There's a lot of different stories playing out. So like the main architect, their story arc is that they make terrible games, but you are learning to break those games and you're having fun doing it. So the architect is actually like kind of depressed about how they've made bad games. But when you find the fun in breaking them, they gain confidence and understand that like they are making fun games, just not in the way they'd originally planned. So the architect's not like an evil person or something. They're just making games. And they don't even realize that like, oh my God, people can like think in my games. And they're not the only architect. And maybe I call them Mike. I still like that as a general name, Mike the architect, or Jeff or Tim or something like that. Sorry, Tim, but common names is I wanted to go for something like that. Just keep you busy. So walk into sidekick managing shops. You skip to the final boss and kill it and walk back out. Oh, that was a short one. There will be a Skeletor reference. And since we have all the code and everything and all the assets, of course I could make it like, hey, you've just made it to Skeletor. You need to sell 50 items to continue, but we need to break expectations somehow. Maybe, oh man, maybe you're fighting items in battles and what's coming out of the portal are monsters. And you're, I don't know, I guess then you'd be selling monsters. Want to make a fun dev pun on a player? QA? Yeah. Yeah, that's something that had to be translated though pretty well. Well, all the games being called demo projects or something, I have that here somewhere. Where is it? Yeah, each game can be named like an amateur, like farming test or new game final release 6. But I think we should probably come up with real game names for that stuff. Or you play the monsters instead. Yeah, yeah, something like that. Or yeah, selling skeletons. Okay, that's a pretty interesting thing because people have made that joke for a long time. But this is the first time we could actually do it. It could be that everyone in town is a monster and you fight NPCs. Well, I guess, are you harvesting their skeletons or something? I don't know. Let's just not come up with that just yet. Yeah, new game. Does it stand for something? Yeah, it stands for stuck in a broken tutorial. Let me write that out. Stands for stuck in a broken tutorial. It's Adam's new game. Read the FAQ here. Yeah, I like the name too. I like a lot of the core ideas of this. And like I said, I've been starting to compose some music and I like really like some of the musical ideas I came up with, but without knowing what game they're going to fit in exactly yet. Yeah. It's going to be a little bit tough. Okay, so we got some of the characters. Oh, I said I wanted to take a break. What time is it? Yeah. All right, I think that was a pretty good time. All right, is it jump time? Is this going to actually work? Excuse me. Yeah, it's like super delayed still. I got to figure out why this is happening. Because this is minutes behind. Hang on, let me see if I can restart this. I wonder why it's so laggy. Maybe I could have this run on my GPU. Does it even matter? Okay, I just changed models. Test, test, test. Hello, hello. No, it's not doing anything. I wonder how to restart this because otherwise it's gonna trigger this at just some random time. Annoying. Translation, cloud translation. I can't check. Oh, did I just crash something? Huh. I'm not sure what's happening here. Yeah, something's going wrong. Oh man. Yeah, I'm not sure what to do about this. All right, maybe I can just turn this off for a bit. I just won't use these. Yeah, there. Okay. Well, I'll just manually trigger this. Which actually, do I even know how to manually trigger it anymore? This is all just the intro to Skyrim. That'd be pretty funny. Hey, Corpsey. And hey, Tebow. Okay, so let's go to code vocal streamer main.py. How do we start this? Start jump royale. Okay, so this is gonna be a little bit annoying, isn't it? Okay, what's going on? Yeah, take a look at the, yeah, there we go. The today command. Okay, so I'm gonna go take a quick break. Let's see if this works. It does, but it doesn't change scenes. Where's the scene? I can't find it. That's weird. It's jump time. Okay, I'll be back. Okie dokes. So if I say close the game, it's not going to do anything, right? Yeah. All right, well, let's just manually close it. Okay, so yeah, you enter the platform game, you fall through the world and see the architect. He sends you to the next game. Set a foundation, add some intrigue, show that this isn't the normal kind of game. From there, I wanted to send you into the next game, and I had a lot of this planned out already about how we'd like open this. I think I should read through this again. You start on the title screen. This is so people can adjust their settings without being rushed into a game. You may want save slots or something. Start the game. It's a platforming world like Rogue Legacy, where there are natural in-world explanations for how to move and do stuff. I don't want this part here. You can jump and double jump and attack while running. Maybe it's like a twin stick game. Upbeat music is playing, like this is going to be a big platforming game. Tough to reach coins or stars that make you think this is part of the full game. Players should feel like they were smart to figure out how to collect them. Yep. UI should be convincing that this is a full game. Well, the UI should be pretty minimal for this particular game. Hearts for your life, score meter, etc. You should be forced to get at least 1 star or coin by playing. That way you can use it in the next game. Yeah, I think having an inventory that persists between games would be very interesting. But I wonder how it would manifest, because one of the problems with a game like that, if you do have an inventory that's persistent, and even in kind of like Zelda games, this sort of happens. You build up a ton of items in your inventory, and then you encounter a puzzle, and you're just like, which item is supposed to be for this puzzle? And it's not really fun when that happens. And I've seen a lot of people play the older Zelda games, and yeah, that's kind of how they encounter things. They're like, oh, there's an orb here. Okay, I'll try item 1. Oh, it didn't do anything. Item 2, it didn't do anything. Item 3 didn't do anything. Oh, item 4 worked. It's like, that's kind of just brute forcing through the puzzle. And yeah, sure, you can kind of pay attention, or you can have subtle hints that try to steer you toward a particular item. But I think if mechanically it doesn't accomplish much, that it might add overhead. Alternatively, it could be something like a lot of old RPGs, and probably actually newer ones too probably have this. They'll have like a key item inventory. So you can't just use these whenever you want. It's more like a thing happens, an event occurs that requires one of those items. And then if you have it, you can proceed. Have a minigame inventory and meta inventory. Yeah, so that's what I was kind of wondering about. I think a minigame inventory can make sense if the game demands it, but I'm not sure the meta inventory is needed. Because what does it mechanically turn into? It's either this style where it's like, oh, I'll just try everything I have, or it's this style where it's like, well, you just got the thing anyway. And is there even, I shouldn't be typing any of this here. I should be typing it in my scratch section. So like meta inventory, or like cross game inventory. So is there even the concept of an optional item? Like, you probably can't go backwards through games. Or can you? I mean, maybe we could allow you to do that. But if the game worlds change at all, I think I need to think about that part next then, huh? Grab some chickens and release them in a different game. Potions could help you heal, but not necessary if you didn't grab any. Yeah, I guess it's another route for jokes. Could be a route for jokes. We could allow backtracking through game worlds, but I think it would have to be something that you unlock at a particular point. There's no need to allow it though if there's no requirement to backtrack. But okay, you know what? This could be kind of interesting. So I mentioned a joke in the like Jump Royale style game where you jump upward thinking that it's the solution, but you eventually take out a pickaxe and get like crafting materials by destroying platforms. Could be kind of interesting to have a pickaxe be an item that you can use in later games. Yeah. Yeah, a pre-break and post-break game environment doubles the game content. Be interesting to see the impacts. Well, but like, man, so I get that this is how a lot of games with backtracking work, if you look at a game, pretty much any Metroidvania style game, you typically have your first view of a level, and there are objectives you cannot do. You just literally cannot do them until you have new item X. And then you get new item X in a later level, and then you backtrack to complete objectives that are now possible. I don't want this to turn into some like massive combination of, okay, I just got a pickaxe. Do I need to go back to like the platformer game? Because a lot of this game would defy logic. I guess this is where it's a good thing to plan. A lot of this game defies logic. So the Zelda style puzzle mechanism probably wouldn't be very fun with backtracking. You get a pickaxe. So does that mean you can use it in the platformer game? You probably wouldn't have a way of knowing. Items could have durability to indicate that you're done with them, though. Yeah. Hey, Andre. Thank you, bro. Decides to work on the game and you go back to a fixed game. Yeah, I also want to be careful not to just like expand the development time for myself. So being able to go back to a finished game, it's a fun idea, but it might be something where it's like if we don't require the player to go back. So imagine we have like 10 sub games and they're in a broken state and then they're in a fixed state. It's like, well, now I have 20 games to make. And if the 10 fixed states are not important, then it's like, well, we made 10 Easter eggs now. So I got to be very, very careful about that. This is something to be required for some sort of true ending. Finding secrets you can't or probably wouldn't find your first time there. Yeah, I think it could potentially be interesting, but it could also cause problems. I think there's actually way more to consider here than I might have originally thought. So some conclusions so far. Pros, cons. Another route for jokes. Another route for puzzles. Could potentially be overwhelming when you can go back to any game and mechanics don't necessarily follow logic to begin with. And another thing is could increase development time. Well, this is conclusion so far for backtracking, I guess. And then there was another thing, which is... what was it? What was the other thing? I don't know, I was just thinking about it. Oh, yeah. Could have story implications. The first platformer had the broken world that led to the real world. So if we allow you to backtrack, we need to keep these things in mind. Does it need to be logical? It doesn't have to be logical, but from a player's point of view, imagine you have something like there's fire in the game and you have a bucket of water. If you use the water on the fire, you'd expect it to put it out. So this is like normal game logic, right? Now imagine, because this is a comedy game, you put water on the fire and it spreads the fire. That's not really logical, but it is funny. So now you treat your bucket of water as just like funny item number 6. It's not really a bucket of water. It's really like grease or something in this case. And it acts like water sometimes and it acts like grease in other times. And that's where the logic kind of breaks down, because if you're solving puzzles, you'd want to know that a bucket of water acts like what you think it should act like. So yeah. What if you could see a shadow of yourself performing what you did previously and pull some thread to make you act differently by going back in time? Yeah, that's a little bit, I think, complex. Maybe one game could do that sort of thing. Reusable code base. Some will be reusable from the Skeleseller stuff, if that's what you mean. So I do kind of like the idea of backtracking. I think we just need to be careful about it. Players may expect old games to have, or like sub games. I should probably write that in the terms for this stuff, huh? Main Yeah, maybe I'll just put this here in terms. Don't I have the real world written somewhere? Yeah. Locations, entities, and what was the other thing I was going to write down? I've forgotten already. Oh, subgames, right. I'll just write MISC subgames. Games within Suck in a Broken Tutorial that player experiences. They're not part of the real world. Yeah. Depending on the fire, depending on the liquid. Yeah, so backtracking. I mean, this is where the inventory thing comes into play. I'm still a little torn on backtrack. Like I'm picturing, okay, so we mentioned a platformer and a farming simulator. Let's say you have to go back to the platformer because you got a double jump ability or something. And now you can reach a platform you couldn't reach before. And the game continues. I guess you're not really in a broken tutorial at that point. Although maybe the tutorial could say that like you're out of bounds, you weren't supposed to be here. And there are like unfinished ideas in the game. In fact, actually maybe a lack of polish is expected out of some of this stuff. Kind of wonder about that. Let me open up 2 tabs here. So I've got the main one too. There's a diegetic reason why we shouldn't polish some games. The architect just didn't finish a lot of them. Huh. All right, anyway, so you come back to the platformer and you can double jump. So yeah, you come back here with double jump and can reach literal new heights. And then, like, yeah, would you expect something to be in the farming simulator? Actually, you know what else? I guess it could actually decrease development time. Could increase or decrease development time depending on how you look at it. Like, pro players may expect you, or no, sorry, there's a con. Players may expect every game to be worth going back to. In pro, we wouldn't need to design so many different games / worlds if each has multiple reasons for visiting. Hey, who cares? You changed your name? Yeah, I like it. Chaos is not chaos. It's having several ideas unfinished lying around. I think sometimes chaos is chaos. All right, I'm leaning more toward yes than no here. Like, as long as you can mitigate cons, it's okay. I wouldn't want players, because, okay, again, going back to just a frame of reference that hopefully a lot of people have in chat. Super Mario 64 had a hub world and then like, I don't know, 10 worlds within that or off of that hub. And I don't remember the exact number. It doesn't matter. But anyway, like 10 worlds. And there was a very like minor reason to backtrack in the form of the 3 caps that you could get. So for example, if you couldn't fly in one level, you might not be able to get a certain star in the game. Okay, but pretty minor. And once you got all the caps, then, although I guess you didn't know as a player that you'd gotten all the caps. So you might have thought, oh, I can't do this right now, but you incorrectly came to that conclusion. Regardless, you could go back to any world, and the worlds themselves had a bunch of stars that you could get. So if you did not have one of these, like let's say you didn't have this one, then you know, oh, I didn't complete all the objectives. Like it was very obvious to you when you were done with a world. So I think we need to mitigate this by either mitigations, like nudge the player in a certain direction, Oh, I saw that in the farming game. Or have clear UI indicating that there's still something to be done. In Super Mario 64, you could clearly see from anywhere how many stars you had to collect, you still had to collect in each world. Plus, we're not on YouTube. That's right. Oh, nice. Yeah, so leaning toward having backtracking. I hadn't really planned for this. Also, there was some like Fever Dream World I talked about. Although I guess if you're a game developer to some extent too, modifying these worlds is potentially part of what's interesting. And maybe that's where, but why would you modify them? On a route for the story, you are like part architect. So you may be able to change those worlds or those games. Why would you want to change games? Also, if the architect is friendly, then wouldn't they be okay helping you accomplish your goals eventually, such that you don't have to change them? This kind of makes me think that maybe one of the overarching story points is if agents can become NPCs by not breaking out of a game, then maybe you help NPCs become agents by giving them games that are fun. Okay, I'm liking that. I'm liking that a lot. Yeah, for those who did not follow what I was writing earlier, I came up with some of these terms. So NPCs are your typical, like, picture a Super Nintendo game kind of NPC. They say, hi, how's the weather? They talk about whatever. Oh, congrats on completing that quest. But they don't think for themselves. The agents are the characters that actually have free will, and you meet some of these agents as you go through, and you yourself are an agent. You are realizing that you're in a game world. In fact, maybe that's part of this. They may be aware that they're in a game world. But yeah, I wrote this. Agents who can't break out of their games eventually go crazy and become NPCs. So yeah, what if that's, you know, the power of gaming to stop people from becoming zombies? Is it a brainstorm kind of thing? Yeah. I always like when games teach you the gameplay by gradually increasing loops iteratively. Helps with pacing and learning. And another thing related, something like effortless learning. Like in Beat Saber, you learn to play the game, but you don't do it intentionally like IRL. Yeah, I think there is quite a lot to proper tutorial design. What we're talking about here, the game is stuck in a broken tutorial. So the theme of the game is that you're presented with these intentionally like sort of bad games or broken tutorials, and you need to break out of them. And there's a storyline behind this, and I'm really liking this idea. But then your goal would be to go in and fix all of these games. This would make your overall goal to fix these games. Although maybe you don't realize it at first. You could even see NPCs slowly like getting used to the mechanics, making jumps that they couldn't make before, etc. This is very, very cool. I really, really like this idea. But I don't know how this manifests itself. So you have this broken jumping game, a platformer, and there was a jump you couldn't make, so like you'd move the platform and now you can make that jump, right? But yeah, in the farming simulator game, I haven't like fully planned this out. But let's say you could only plant one type of crop. Like you're allowing people to beat these games so that they can move on. They're no longer trapped there. I guess it all kind of depends on how are you fixing them. In some cases, they'll be broken in funny ways. So fixing them is pretty apparent. in the platformer you start in, you just move the platforms. Also, like, what's the difficulty in fixing the games from the IRL player's point of view? Wouldn't it just be like a button that you press to magically fix everything? What if you were an agent for a game dev that has tons of unfinished projects? You somehow try to complete. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about here. That's pretty much the same idea, at least. Help spirits move on in death, just little NPCs stuck in their broken purgatories. Yeah, I like that concept. Hey, Rare. You're complete the mistakes within the tutorial? You essentially try to like break the tutorial, or break out of the tutorial. That's kind of the idea. NPC can't reach it to water crops. Everything is dead, but they go through the motions. You help them get to the water supply. Yeah, but a lot of okay, so this is kind of what I'm getting at, right? Like the platformer, it was broken because the platforms are too far apart. So like the fix is move them closer together. But like a funnier fix, I guess, would be allow NPCs to jump higher or farther. But okay, so now the farming sim, it's like the water is out of reach. So the fix is put it in reach. I don't want all the fixes to just be like, well, we just kind of move something or patch something, teach them a rain dance. Yeah, but like, I guess, sorry, what I'm talking about here is there are two different components to this. One is what action does the real life player take? And then what does this look like in the game? So this part is not a problem. Like we can do anything for this. But if you're going in all these game worlds and you're just like, you're waving a wand and now it's fixed, and you go into the next thing and you're waving a wand and it's fixed, it's like, well, the player's not really doing anything. It wouldn't really be fun. It could just be the ending. That could be how we do this. Maybe there's no difficulty and this is just the end sequence. The like player going into each world and fixing them all in funny ways. That could work. I like that idea. But then, yeah, that would be the very end of the game. For the platformer, instead of just moving the platforms closer together, you put out a box of, or like, yeah, unending box of jump boots that NPCs equip before being able to jump really far. Yeah. Had a few takeaways. Actually found more value in some of the micro lessons. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, out of curiosity, what do you think were the like biggest two for you? I'm just kind of curious because I don't think I'm gonna get a lot of feedback on that video in terms of specifics. So like if it says press A, pressing A will work, but the event won't match the actual intended action. So yeah, something like that. Imagine that the game is like, hey, you need to plant 3 crops, but actually planting crops is not at all what you have to do. And you need to figure out that there's some, I don't know, there's a lever on the wall or something that you need to pull. What if you tried to jump onto a platform but fall through it and then do something? Yeah, that's kind of how the game starts. What I'm saying is how would you fix these? And I don't think there's any real interest in fixing them, so it could just be like the ending sequence. Could use parts of what the player learns in other worlds to fix a different one at the end. Like if you get a grappling hook, you could use it to move something. Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is mechanically, it's not very interesting to fix a game world unless we're giving you tools that help you overcome a small problem. So as an example, let's say you had like a Lego or like a Minecraft game. In Minecraft, if we said like build a path, the building is mechanically interesting. You need to harvest materials. You need to craft them into something. Then you need to place the materials. And while doing that, you fight off monsters. All of these things form an interesting, like almost a quest for you. But if I was just like, oh, hey, you have a platformer here and you need to like put out a box of boots, you know, press the button to place an item and you're done. So mechanically, this is incredibly uninteresting, which is where leaving it for like an end credit sequence is great because it's funny. So it'll also tie things together. Story wise, I like it, but yeah, mechanically, I hate it. So that's why I think if we just put it in the end credits, it's fine. Or like ending the outro scene, pretty much. Yeah. Number 6 and 31. Let me go refresh my memory on this really fast. Yes, this is okay, cool. And 31. Is it the I work hard thing? Yes, it is. Yeah, you definitely work hard, Tim. And yeah, I think like I think the true takeaway, and I think I said in that video, is it's not like try to bring more awareness to the like you journal as well at the end of your stream, so you know what you've been working on and everything. I think it's to not guilt yourself as much. I don't know if you struggle with that, but I struggle with that for sure. So yeah, as an ending credit sequence, I think this is a cool idea. So let's say like story. What is going on here? What did I just do? Okay, I don't know what I just did. Yeah, so we're gonna put this here like super high level and then story beats. So super high level is you start discovering the broken world. Wait, I have another question. Oh man, this is why I'm all over the place. Like what brought you online? Like were you an NPC who is slowly gaining agency? Were you just special? Yeah, I don't have an answer to this. Is this the first day with the new profile picture? No, I don't think it's the first day. Yeah. But I think it's one of the first days because I think I only did this like Thursday or Friday. I don't remember. So you start discovering the broken world. So like beginning, ending, I think is you use your ability as an architect to fix all of the broken game worlds. This plays out as a cutscene since it's mechanically uninteresting, but the solutions to each world's problems can be funnily implemented. For example, and I wrote this down over here. Yeah. You then see them jumping and enjoying the game. You see thought bubbles with hearts appear. Whereas before they encountered the platforms and were sad and showed sad faces. Yeah. The tutorial itself being the part that isn't explained, but in fixing the tutorial, you're learning what you're actually supposed to be doing. Yeah, there's a lot that's still kind of up in the air, and I'm talking mostly about story for now to try to figure out what's going on. And there are some pretty good ideas that I think are here. So this is part of the reason I wrote about backtracking, but we could make you backtrack to games to still extract something else from it. And I think I have this written down as a question somewhere of like, why is the architect not helping you? These don't need to be in unfiled notes. These are just filed notes at this point. There. Okay, I want to find this in the questions section. How is it you're still able to go through broken tutorials? Can they create a paradise for you or fetch whatever goals you're after? Yeah, I don't have an answer for that yet. So I'm still not sure. Does backtracking help? You wouldn't be changing the games. I guess I still am leaning toward it. What else do you experience when you go through? And do other people acquire skills and stuff from different games? Hmm. Architect lost the power to do anything? No, the architects were just bad to begin with. They made these broken games that you're stuck in, and you need to figure out how to leave them. So at some point you learn that you're like part architect. I guess that's one of the super high level things. Middle. You learn that you're part architect. How did it even manifest? I guess it's only toward the end. I wrote something about this somewhere. Hmm. Gotta look at that some more too. Yeah, slowly become friends with the architect. Huh. Why am I so good at understanding and breaking these worlds? Yeah. But I wonder what this means. This probably happens just before the ending so that you can fix all of those games. Yeah, which allows NPCs to enjoy the games and become agents. Maybe that's how you became. Okay, that's what makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Hang on. So, I think fun leads to becoming an agent. So it's like enjoying the video games is what allows them to live their actual lives. I think as a theme, that's pretty interesting. Yeah. I don't know where to write that. Super high level. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where to write it. Maybe in the rules somewhere. Yeah, so NPCs are dull because they were no longer having fun in their games. This is technically the architect's fault. When they no longer have fun. It's technically the architect's fault. And it's why your mission is to let the power of good games bring people back to agency, or like return people. Nah. You naturally find, like, player naturally finds breaking the games fun, which is how they have managed to do everything they did. This is like why you're special, pretty much. Question to ask is why don't you know you're an architect? Yeah, I'm not sure it's even got to be a difficult answer. Like, why don't you know that you're an architect? Oh, Mr. Adamson. Yeah. Meta commentary on AI agents. It was, I mean, there will be probably a little bit of that showing up, but it was more just a commentary on um like video games and our interactions with them, I would say. So hold on, I wrote some of this out over here. Yeah, so then we have now answered the question of how are you special? And yeah, we've answered that. I think that's pretty important. So what brought you online? This part's still not totally answered. I guess I have an answer to it now, though. What brought you online is just that you had fun breaking a game. You were originally created as a player of a game. All players start as NPCs, and if the game is good, they can become agents. Most of the time, NPCs become agents due to a game naturally being fun. But you found fun in breaking the game. All right, so we can delete this because it's redundant. Originally created as a player of a game. All players start as NPCs, and if the game is good, they can become agents most of the time. This happens due to a game naturally being fun. But you found fun in breaking the game. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Are they sad because of all the broken games, or will it be repaired? They're sad at the beginning, yeah. It'll be repaired in the end by you. So yeah. So the player will be able to create like pseudo bugs. No, I don't think so. I don't think you should, like, your mission will essentially be to make these games better, and you need to learn how to do that. I guess I do need to probably answer this question. Why don't you know that you're an architect? If your mission is to improve these game worlds, then wouldn't you want to try changing them at some point? And does everything make sense from a story perspective? If, like, as a contrived example, if the player has super strength, and then encounters a literal barrier, they would know that they could break through it. So if I wrote the character such that they like forget they have super strength, then there's a problem. I'm writing this in a really contrived way. A lot of shows or movies run into this issue where, like, even the first Spider-Man movie, like, Spider-Man fights some like low-level gangsters and nearly gets destroyed. It's like he's a superhero. His power level shouldn't fluctuate to match the enemies just so that there's some tension in the scene. He should be like crushing everybody unless they've got superpowers too. But for the sake of the plot and action, they have to make it look like, oh yeah, 3 thugs could just beat up Spider-Man. I'm not a huge superhero fan, but I think a lot of superhero TV shows and movies need to struggle with that concept and figure something out. Hey, Genesis. Been watching Firebelly make his game for quite a while now. I'm excited to have another YouTuber from day one of a game cycle. Yeah, nice, cool. And yeah, hope you enjoy this. I mean, fixing or altering these pseudo bugs, I guess I'm imagining it differently. Yeah, could be. It's hard to say because nothing's really concrete right now. How's the progress? Couldn't watch. Captions too lagging, kind of weird. Yeah. Yeah, progress has been good though. And yeah, new game. We are working on it. For those who haven't seen it, do take a look at this, the today command here. I'll type it in YouTube as well. I've got a link to what I'm doing, at least in terms of the FAQ. So it does answer a lot of questions people have been asking. Okay, so yeah, what is your perspective throughout this? Your perspective as an IRL player is that you don't know what's going on just yet. And then like player's perspective is, well, I guess as both a real player and as player is to figure out what's going on. Then at some point, like player's perspective is going to be that they find this fun. So let me think about this a little bit more. I still haven't figured out the backtracking thing, but let me just write player's perspective. By the way, player is the name of the player. I know it's kind of silly, but I think it's a funny joke. Take care, Tim. Thanks for the raid. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you have a good rest of your day. I guess to me, it sounds like the player is sort of a programmer as a way to change the game. The only changing the game that I'm planning right now is just that happens in the outro cutscene. So like you as a person playing the game are not going to mechanically alter the worlds or anything, or not in a way that wasn't intended. It's kind of hard to explain. Like I said, nothing's really concrete. I can't like show you, okay, well, here's the prototype we have so far and take a look at this. And yeah, I can't really do that. Hey, Soren. It'd be funny, though probably not a great idea. Maybe for the first jump, you can make it, if you're pixel perfect, you win the game. I can't do that for sure. Because this is one of those things I've kind of talked about before, but let's say you have a 1% chance for something to happen. Most people, like let's say there's a 99% chance to hit an enemy in a game. Most people are going to take those odds. They're going to be like, yep, I'm going to hit. That's 99%. Not going to even question it. But if you have 100 people who take those odds, on average, because this is literally what the average would mean in this case, one person will fail. And that means that once you scale this up, it's like, okay, well, then 1,000 means that 10 people will fail, and 10,000 means 100 people will fail. So if you had a pixel perfect jump, there's going to be some percentage of the player base that just makes it the first time. And then is it funny enough for that player to be like, ha, I beat the whole game. This was never a problem. I think it would fall a little bit flat. And yeah, you have to think of like how many of my players are going to find it frustrating. Yeah, Expo. Yeah, day one. Day one. All right, so player's perspective, it starts as just having fun playing games. Then you meet the architect and you wonder what they're all about and try to get back to them. You meet sidekick and they help you through. Well, if you're some kind of genius at breaking games, why do you need a sidekick? Joke would be funny for a second playthrough. Hey, Bombs. Yeah, I think it would be funny for a second playthrough. I actually think it'd be funny if after you fix the world, you do a new game plus. Actually, we should write that down as an idea. That's actually pretty hilarious. After you beat the game and fix the game worlds, you could start a new game plus. It's literally just the same experience, but this time the platformer has the high jump boots and you're forced to pick them up and make it across the chasm. If you do, it says you beat new game plus. If you don't, maybe, well, no, if you don't, yeah, after it says you beat new game plus. Maybe it offers an endless number of new game, like plus plus. That doesn't change the experience at all. Oh, man. So it's mechanically a solid game with literally one win condition. I'm not totally sure what you mean by solid game. So to be clear, like think of The Legend of Zelda. The Legend of Zelda has one win condition and it's defeat Ganon. There's no way you can consider yourself to have won the game unless you've beaten Ganon or you glitch the game and go right to the end credits or something. But like, that's it, right? You could say, oh, okay, it's a game with one win condition. Yeah, it's kind of like in this, there's the end cutscene and you're going to repair all the game worlds and that's that. So the question is really like, what is the game leading up to that? And in the case of Zelda, it's like it's an adventure game. There's some amount of reaction time and accuracy and solving puzzles and exploring and like, yeah, this game is going to have a lot of these sorts of things too at different parts of the game. How long should it take to beat the game? I don't know. It's going to be just like with Skeleseller where we just make as much fun content as we can come up with and then the game ends. I think that's my general game design philosophy for any kind of game because I just want people to have fun. I don't want to drag things out. I don't want to promise a certain amount of time and then try to hit that and spend another like 3 years developing it or something. Yeah. So SIABT is the new game. It stands for Stuck in a Broken Tutorial. Hey, Soli. Yep, starting on a new game. Because you can't do it all yourself. Like you can't have a switch on one wall, or you don't know the rules of the world. Yeah, those could be good reasons for why you'd want that. I think that's a pretty good way of looking at things too. Did I close out of that? Yeah. And they help you. You're some kind of game-breaking wizard. So you probably don't need much help in the way of solving, well, not in figuring puzzles out, but you may need help toggling multiple switches at the same time. Or yeah. Or maybe sidekick knows some rules that you don't, or maybe sidekick has items that you don't have, or knows the rules or something. So then at some point, why are you still breaking these? I guess just because you find it fun. What is sidekick doing then? At some point, you have to meet the architect again and maybe say, wait before they zap you into another world. Do you see an increase in purchases? I have not looked at purchases since day 2. So I don't know. I imagine that it resulted in an increase in purchases because a couple of people in chat were even saying that they bought it. But I haven't looked at it. I'm ready to play it. It should be done in an hour or 2 with AI. Yeah, so my question is, at what point do you decide to fix the games? Like maybe meeting the architect is not the goal at all. And I guess there's kind of a problem with it. Well, no, maybe there's not a problem with the story. Is there a problem with you being the one to fix the architect's games? And yeah, I don't think so, because their arc is to gain confidence and accept imperfections, which I love as a theme. I love it. So I want to keep that in. And because you need your own connection to the theme of granting agency. Or the sidekick asks for your help and you're nice and decide to help them. So yeah, by the way, this is something that I had in the main. So I didn't talk through this and I haven't shown this section a whole lot. But one day I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna plan some random things. So yeah, you go through the game, you fall through the world, and then you go into the farming simulator. And here is where I started planning like how will dialogue options work. So like, hey, and welcome to Moondrop Village. You must be player. And then your character just kind of blinks. So didn't your grandpa give you this farm? And you answer some stuff, and this character is just an NPC. They're not an agent. So they just have like scripted lines here. You start walking through town, they teach you some things, and then you encounter sidekick who actually sees you. Wait, no, this happens first. You dream that night, it's interactive. You're back in the platformer. The enemies are the annoying tutorial man. Your attacks shoot crops. The background is a mixture of the 2 games. You get to the pit that you died to the first time around, but this time there's a hastily erected bridge over it. You have to use your pickaxe to break the bridge. You fall down and into the body of water. Piano music plays. Yeah. Okay, so the architect thing, the way this is playing out, I got to write this down too. Seemed like a genius for bringing tutorial so quickly. Your part architect. This manifests in your ability to change game rules sometimes. It first happens in a dream. In what you think is a dream, but it's actually a new game world that you created. But no, you're in the real world as you're dreaming. And why are you in the real world as you're dreaming? A new game world that you transported yourself to. God, it'd be funny if like the actual ending of this game was like, and we've made the perfect game, and then just all of Skeleseller allows you to play afterward. Oh my God. I wonder if anyone's ever done that before. They included like the entirety of one of their sort of contemporary games. Because I've seen like Donkey Kong 64 had some arcade games in it that were fully playable, but that's from a totally different generation. Has a game ever been like, I don't know, imagine you play like Mario Kart and at the end of it, it unlocks Super Mario Odyssey and it's just like, yep, you just got that game for free. I don't think I've seen something like that happen. That'd be kind of crazy. Do we just play a game that's actually like 10 games in one? Sort of, yeah. The game is fun. It doesn't matter how long it takes you to end the game. Yeah, I think the price, though, it matters kind of based on the length of the game. Then again, one, I'm hoping to price this game higher than the last one. And I'm hoping that people liking Skeleseller will lead to them putting more faith in me as a studio, essentially. Yeah, but that is another reason at least right here. Where did I write this? You're some kind of game-breaking wizard. Yeah. You could just be friendly toward helping them since they helped you and you want to help people. You may even ask them about NPCs at some point. Grady Dev. There have actually been, I think, at least 3 people who changed a review from negative to positive or deleted it. But then there was also one person who changed the review from positive to negative. So it's going both ways now. How much are we thinking? How long till the game's out? I can start saving $1 a month in my piggy bank. How much are we thinking? I don't know. The how long until it comes out, I'm very, very much focused on just the current week or month. So this week is almost entirely going to be game design, story design. I don't know, maybe like some character design, but just in text, not like visuals. And then at some point, we're going to move on to prototyping. I don't know how long we'll spend with that. Then we'll get to like the real code. And that's going to be kind of intense. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know about generally how this goes, but some people are wondering like, hey, is this going to be a quick game? Is this going to be are you going to like spend a long time on this? Do you know why Saturday and yesterday there was a peak in players? So there was a German YouTuber who made a video about Skeleseller. Let me sort by this week. They got a decent number of views. Where is that? Yeah, this person. They got 23,000 views. That's really good. And I think that caused some of the German community to recognize the game and then suggest it to Funk, who played on Twitch and had 4,000 concurrent viewers. So that caused a bunch of those spikes. I don't think there were any like other standout videos in terms of views. Yeah, Memoria got like 2,000. And this is in French, so that caused some French viewers to see it. What have I not sort of broken into market-wise? I think I haven't broken into the Spanish market too much. Oh, I don't think I saw this, but that's 3,000 views. That's pretty good. Anything else? No, that's it. Is there... No. Speedrun Skeleseller. Wow. Was it decided the game genre? Yeah, take a look at this. If you want to stick with the theme of accepting imperfections, you could have the sidekick use an anagram for architect, and he's helping because he wants to make the perfect game. Each game cleared or broken. Learning more about accepting a game for its flaws. Bit on the nose, but might be good. I've got some ideas for how this is going to play out, the accepting imperfections part. Like, I was thinking it would be more along the lines of when you finally encounter the architect and get to talk to them, you can explain it like, wait, I've been having fun playing your games. Like, why do you keep teleporting me in other ones? And they're like, wait, what? You've been having fun? Like, I thought you were here to mock me or something. How'd you start learning Godot? Was it trial and error and referencing docs when needed? I started with their getting started guide and then just started messing around with what eventually turned into Where is it? Why don't you turn into this, the Godot Shooter RPG? So this is back in 2020. I actually streamed that process. If you want to take a look at the VODs, they're on YouTube somewhere. I wouldn't be able to find them more easily than that, I think. But yeah, this was like an actual game you could play. It's incredibly hard to control with my keyboard because I'm not in QWERTY. But yeah, you could like rotate the camera and move around and use different abilities, and you'd encounter enemies. You got experience points and leveled up. It's kind of like Realm of the Mad God. I mean, it wasn't supposed to be an original game. It was just me learning Godot. And I can't aim right now. All right, there we go. I think there's a rapid fire as well. Yeah, nice. Nice. Just really hard to control. I regenerate life, don't I? I don't? Huh. Oh, you do. It's just very slow. Yeah, as you level up, I think it goes a little bit faster. Anyway, it's pretty fun. There are 3 different character classes that were made. They have different skills. Okay, so where did I leave off with this? Let's close out all these tabs. Yeah, I liked Realm of the Mad God. That was pretty good. So at some point you meet the architect again. You talk. They think you're there to mock them. You say you've been having fun. I mean, at that point, if you're just friends, you're just playing the games because you find them fun. But then maybe you're also learning. Maybe there's like a game design meter that's filling up. Game design knowledge meter that fills up with each game you go through. And when it hits max, you become an architect. Maybe kind of interesting. This would coincide with the end of the game. Yeah, I upload all my VODs to YouTube. I have 4 different YouTube channels. The ones for Botland are all on the Xtonomous channel, which I haven't uploaded anything to in a while. But yeah, if you wanted to watch, there's like 800 videos there. Then Skeleseller VODs are on the Adam Learns channel, and there are 550 videos there. And then just normal, I know this is a lot, but just normal videos ended up on other playlists somewhere. So you'd have to probably look at, I don't know where it is. Yeah, I guess, oh, right. There's like 4 lists of playlists here. There's some interviews, some mentoring stuff, learning various things. There should be a Learning Godot playlist in here, right? Yeah, there it is. Let's Learn Godot. Yeah, so if someone wants to watch this, let's take a quick look. I had very thick-rimmed glasses for this, and I was using my webcam to stream, and that is not the same shirt. Yeah, so you can see me probably struggle through some Godot stuff. I was trying something with physics originally. I'm gonna try some like Plinko thing. I don't think that went well. Yeah, I was using GDScript back then. Different times, different times. Unfortunately, many of these VODs before I think like 2023 did not have Twitch chat in them. So you can't see what I was responding to or anything. You'll just hear my responses. Much improved lighting. I think it was my camera that got better. I think the lighting has been roughly the same, but yeah, it's definitely looking a lot better now. Okay, I got to take a break for lunch soon, but let me see if I can answer at least some of these things. So yeah, I like the idea of you gaining game design knowledge. I think this is a little too in your face. Yeah. Hey, Mohit. Prototyping in GDScript. Back then, yeah. For this game is going to be prototyping in C#. Pretty sure that's the same shirt. No, I know what shirt that is. It's a fuzzier one than this. I kind of like that. Let's write that down. I don't think we really need this stuff. Okay, so you maybe put it in terms or something. Part architect without realizing it. You gain game design knowledge. I'd rather phrase it like this. Your game design knowledge meter fills slightly each time you finish a game. When it hits max, you gain the ability to repair games, which happens in a cutscene. The only problem here is you breaking games. Well, let's just write it down. It's fine for now. Okay, so if you become friendly with the architect, what does that do for the game? Yeah, and this is important. I got to write this down in the themes. Eventually learn that they're making fun games, just not intentionally. However, this is enough for them. Their arc is to gain confidence and accept imperfections. Yeah, and I really like this. Are you family or in the same union? No, they're just a different person. Like this world is very much a fantasy world, even though I call the place where the architect lives the real world. But it's a fantasy world, so they're just game developers. It's like that's that person's job and they're just not good at it. And you're not related to them at all. Or maybe you're a player in the game and like yeah, I haven't answered that question. I guess it's just like how are people created for these game worlds? Hey, Trackley. Are there layoffs in the real world there? I don't think we should talk about layoffs in that world, but presumably there would be. Actually, I don't think the architect is really employed by somebody, so they couldn't really get laid off. Is TADC an inspiration for this game? What is TADC? The Amazing Digital Circus? No, I've never even heard of this. What is this? Australian adult independent animated web series. Yeah, I never heard of this. When did this come out? 2023? Okay. Yeah. Maybe Neo by default. I was actually debating on how to make the typing input. Like a lot of games will show you an entire, I mean, just imagine I typed all this out. Let's have it be something like this. A lot of games will show you like a fake keyboard, maybe something like this. And you go and select like ding, 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 ding. Okay, I want a G there. And it types in a G. And then you move on and you type in the next thing. And it's like, oh, and okay. So I was thinking, what if no matter what you chose, it types out player. And that's the name you have to accept. And that's your first introduction to how broken this game is. Like even the letters you type do not work. But yeah, while there are some Matrix influences here, I don't want to directly call them out. Yeah, welcome into the stream, Nomad. Okay, so this is all fine. But yeah, what happens after you meet them? I think that's the other question I have. What happens after you befriend the architect? So what is your motivation? Could still be to have fun. I think the architect needs to present you with a new conflict though. But I don't know what it would be. And then why can't the architect why can't the architect like help you in any greater way? This probably plays into your motivation. You select the first character, it puts P automatically, then the rest. So you could be like A player or B player or something. I think, to be honest, I think the real problem is it'd probably be annoying to localize that like character entry screen because we need to show like a different alphabet for everybody. Also, what do you? I was gonna say, what do you do in a game where you input your name in one language, but then you render in a different language? I didn't even think of that. I don't think I should allow changing the language of the game after you've started it. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that at all. I gotta write that down somewhere. If you can customize your name at all, and we have language specific fonts and the ability to change that language, then we need to accommodate rendering the name in any language, regardless of what the game is set to. This is going to be broken. Let it only be English. I think what we'd probably do is just not let the player name their character. But yeah, I'm not sure. Now wants to learn programming properly. Can you help him with that? I think the theme for the architect that I like is that they're okay with imperfections as long as people are enjoying their game. Although, actually, wait a second, though. This doesn't jive with the other thing I came up with. Okay, yeah, no, this wouldn't work. I'm going to have to answer that question, too. So there are... I'll add this over here. Yeah, we're going to have to answer these questions after lunch, I think. So how can your storyline work without undermining the architects? The architect is okay with imperfections, but then you're fixing their games and it's allowing people to enjoy them. I feel like the architect can't have a very large role other than to explain the game or explain how things came to be. So we need to have them present a conflict or tools for solving their games. A phone that you... Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. All right, I will have to answer these. It's starting to make me want, like, enough. This is why I'm glad we're doing this in design right now, because yeah, moving stuff around now is not very hard. I just got to keep this stuff in my head. But hang on one sec. Okay. The difficulty is in figuring out if these characters still have a goal after I've added like completely new ideas here. So you would, yeah, I don't know what the architect is going to be exactly. I wanted them to have their own story arc, but it doesn't gel with this. All right, well, we'll pick up from this later, I suppose. Yeah. Started designing a new game. I think this is fine. It's the 30th, right? Yeah. I filled this out before. Okay, I am going to go take my break. Yeah. So it is 12:09. I'll try to be back around like 1 p.m. maybe, something around there. And we'll just pick up where we left off. So if you're liking what we've done so far, then it'll be more of that in the afternoon. Thank you for watching. I hope you all have a good rest of your day, and I will see you next time.